5 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories this Thursday morning. Looks like the change is coming with some much needed rain. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Federal authorities say they have busted what they call a high-end brothel network that operated out of the Boston area and Washington, D.C. suburbs.
This commercial sex ring was built on secrecy and exclusivity, catering to a wealthy and well-connected clientele.
That's acting U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, Joshua Levy, who says clientele included elected officials, military officers, and government contractors with security clearances. The Justice Department announcing the arrests of 3 individuals accused of running the sex ring so far. Later today in Nashville, the man police say shot 18-year-old Belmont student Julian Ludwig makes his first court appearance. Shaquille Taylor admitted to firing shots at a car near Edge Hill Park. One of the bullets struck Ludwig while she was walking. Now she's fighting for her life. Channel 4's Marissa Sulik went to last night's prayer vigil and talked to the family who did not want to go on camera.
You can hear it here. Jillian Ludwig is a musician, vocalist, and studies music business at Belmont University. She just graduated from a New Jersey high school back in June and has 2 younger brothers and her parents, Matt and Jessica. Her aunt tells me Jillian is fearless, kind, and irreplaceable to their family.
Channel 4 says the family's aware the shooting suspect has a record of violent crime and asked in a statement, why was this man free? Shaquille Taylor was prosecuted back in May on an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon charge. However, the district attorney says he was released after doctors testified he was incompetent to stand trial. And right now in Nashville, 7 Metro police officers are on paid administrative assignment after the public release of those 3 pages purported to be from the Covenant School Shooters Manifesto. Metro says this is not a punishment. These officers still have full police power, but they're not going to be part of the investigation to protect its integrity. And the department says it's not going to release the officers' identities. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Here's Daria Olbinger.
Stocks drifted again in a day of mixed trading. The Dow fell 40 points, the Nasdaq rose 11, and the S&P added 4 for the session. Eli Lilly jumped after getting U.S. approval for a weight loss drug, while Warner Brothers Discovery sank after reporting a worse loss for the last quarter than expected. There was a flurry of earnings reports after the close. Chipmaker ARM Holdings reporting better than expected numbers in its first quarter as a publicly traded company, and the Walt Disney Company's third quarter earnings missed the mark. Disney is the parent company of ABC News. Crude oil prices continue to fall and are back where they were in July. The Culinary Workers Union in Las Vegas reached a tentative deal with casino giant Caesars just days before tens of thousands of hospitality workers could walk off the job and onto the picket lines. Deals have yet to be reached with MGM Grand and Wynn Resorts.
All right, let's check futures ahead of the opening bell on Wall Street today. Dow futures up 20, S&P flat, NASDAQ up 13. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
My name is Jessica Robertson, and I was like him, addicted to more. I remember things really spiraled out of control for me and him both. And we had hit rock bottom. I couldn't even function enough to keep a job. I was so isolated. He was here 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Just 3 weeks' time, the difference that this program had made, that God had made in his life, you know, and I just remember I wanted that. I wanted that too. I was able to heal and reset. I had a great counselor, great staff members. You know, the love of God is all in this place. And that's what's helped me. And seeing people walk through those doors at first just broken, just like I was. And then a few months later, get to see that light come back on in them. You know, I know that's God working in them.
Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, so Johnny and Ken.
Yeah, Brother Dan Mandis.
I've got a question now. If I wanted you guys to be a reference for me, if I wanted to like partake in a brothel, would you guys be my references? Because apparently that's part of this story.
Depends on what
Boston.
you want to partake in the brothel.
Yes.
Well, you know what? That was part of the story of this brothel out of Boston, and I got to tell you, this is going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
Because there are politicians right now and people involved in this. They are crapping Twinkies right now.
Yeah, there's getting ready to be some big deals made in Washington, D.C.
Yep, there's some puckering going on.
They probably saw this, and they are like, oh, crap.
Oops.
Darn. Hillary.
Darn.
Hillary.
Make it stop, baby.
The headline, Ken just reported on it. Brothel catering to politicians, doctors, and lawyers. They've been busted in Boston. You know how much these guys paid? $600 an hour.
What?
That's all?
Yeah, I thought it'd be more than that.
I did too.
Well, let's see. They say up to $600 an hour for services.
Wow.
I mean,
that seems like a discount.
they say a booming sex ring.
Sorry.
A booming sex ring catering to wealthy doctors and lawyers and politicians and military officers who indeed paid up to $600 an hour for high-end prostitutes busted in Boston. The feds have now announced. They say those well-connected anonymous Johns have not been charged yet.
And why do they have to name them Johns?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think we're gonna find out who these Johns are?
I think, yeah.
Well, I think since the U.S. attorney or the acting U.S. attorney there for Massachusetts has already put it out there, I think the time for any deals to be made, that's over.
Yeah, that went past.
So some names are probably going to come out.
They say the next round of arrests may include any of the many elected officials, high-tech pharmaceutical executives, doctors, military officers, government contractors that possess security clearances, professors, attorneys, and others. The DOJ released the various kinds of people that have been involved in all of this. And of course, if you're somebody that has a security clearance, maybe you're a politician or what have you, and you're doing this, then guess what? You are vulnerable to blackmail. I mean, there's security issues here as well. I mean, it's not just, high-end Asian prostitutes, because that's what this is. This is the classic, you've got a website and you've got these, menu of options and women available. And a lot of these women are Asian. They rent high-end apartments in, Watertown I think that's the name of the town in Massachusetts, Watertown.
Oh, my gosh.
Or maybe it's Waterton.
They actually have receipts.
Oh,
Are there receipts?
I don't.
That I'm looking at?
I don't know. I'm looking at the Boston Herald.
I'm looking at New York Post.
This is incredible. Listen to this. The buyers would have to provide references.
yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's what
personal details. That's why I started off the show saying, guys, would you be my reference if I want to go to this brothel?
Wow.
Now, what are the receipts? Okay, hold on. So you said that there's receipts?
Well, I'm looking at, the New York Post has all these images. Apparently, there's flyers. They look like advertisement flyers.
Yeah.
With scantily clad girls. And then nice poetic words about them. And then below is, these are text messages.
They have text messages as
Oh,
well.
my text
Wait,
messages.
hold on. So you're on I got to see this. Now, you're on the New York Post?
Yeah. 8:45? Question mark? Mimi? Question mark? 9 p.m. available. Donations for Kara or Tina or Mimi or Alina?
Am I just...
And by the way, there's no discount for BB.
Am I the only guy that Am I the only guy that's ooged out by even the thought of like a million other guys being with like these women, and here I come? You know, I want the 9 o'clock appointment. Well, some dude just left at like 8:45. Am I the only one that is ooged out by that? I can't be the only one.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Here's the deal. Like you alluded to, the operations verification process required interested sex buyers to provide their full names, email addresses, phone number, employer, and references in order to book an appointment.
How do you do that?
Good Lord, this almost sounds like a setup.
All right. Surely, I can't go there. I can't. I just do the news, boys. You guys.
If I'm a politician, if I'm a politician and they're asking for references and an employer and those kinds of things, don't you immediately think, this might not be such a good idea?
Well, yeah.
I mean, you've got sex trafficking. You've got probably, I don't know, maybe some tax issues involved in this as well. I don't know about money laundering, whatever. But you've got sex trafficking and human trafficking, all of those things. Because these women are Asian, so I don't know how they ended up here, all that kind of stuff. We'll find out. But this is going to be interesting.
Well, here's the thing. The three people they accuse of running it that they arrested apparently all live in Southern California. Yet all this was going on over in the D.C. suburbs.
New England. So, yeah, one of the cities I saw was Torrance, actually. I used to live in Torrance.
Yeah.
Down there, and I think they call it the South Bay. So, I don't know.
Wow, this is going to be something.
All right, so.
I mean, I guess it's going to be something.
Wow.
So I guess what party do you think is going to have more, Democrats or Republicans? You know what I mean? Because it's going to be, okay, so this guy's a Republican, this guy's a Republican, but this guy's a Democrat. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yes.
which party do you think would be more apt to go do this kind of thing? I'm not going to go political.
Yeah, well, yeah, I just do the news, boys.
I know. Johnny, what do you think?
I think it's going to be a toss-up because you're talking politicians.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and people that, I mean, these are men that make. They're on the high tier.
Listen, there might be women too.
That's true.
Might be women.
Might be.
I probably shouldn't be laughing at this, but
oh no, this is hilarious.
My goodness,
this is absolutely hilarious.
Well, the thing that makes me laugh is how stupid these people were.
See, Johnny, you are spot on. And there's also the arrogance.
Yeah.
There's the arrogance. There's the stupidity, and there's also the arrogance as well, thinking that they won't get caught. And that not one of them, as I mentioned earlier, not one of them thought, they're asking for names and references and phone numbers and who my employer is. I mean, who puts their name on that? Obviously, arrogant, corrupt, stupid politicians.
Yeah.
All right.
wow.
All right.
So they are saying these are women, right? Because some of these photos that they have redacted, I don't know, man.
They look like
do
you see
teenagers?
Do you see a lot of Adam's apples in there, Ken?
Well, no, I can't see that. I'm just saying
They look underage.
Yeah, the product looks like
like women, like girls, like teenage girls maybe, or
yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, you can't see their face or their private parts, but they I don't know.
2407. I bet Swalwell is guilty. 2630. Hunter Biden giving lessons on the subject.
I wonder if Hunter helped him.
Yeah, he probably financed it.
You know what?
He might have turned state's evidence.
Yeah.
You know what?
Hey.
Maybe. And this is 3 different coasts, right? Well, I mean, not cities. Yeah. You've got Southern California, you've got Washington, D.C., and you've got, Boston.
Yeah.
So, hey, look at the time. It's 5:16. Not a moment too soon. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment, WTN Traffic Center. 517 as far as your weather goes. It's 70 now. Cloudy with rain today and a high of 70. So apparently it's going to get colder as the day goes on. Rain on Friday as well. Saturday dry, then a chance of rain on Sunday as well. Again, 70 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We never did find out the Epstein list, right, guys?
No.
We never found out who was on Epstein's island and so forth.
That's probably why Ghislaine Maxwell is still alive.
Yeah.
Because there's probably a trigger out there. If something happens to her, boop, there's the list.
26.99. These Johns may be arrested, yet still no word on Epstein's client list. Kenny says receipts. Did they have coupons too?
I'm sure they did.
They might have had a raffle.
They may have. Can you send me
and little tickets?
Can you send me the link that you're looking at, Ken, with the pictures?
I will, brother.
And I don't
Dan
want
Mandis.
to look at the pictures because of a salacious nature. Ken is saying that they look underage, and so
I don't know. These are some real. They just look little. I mean, not like short. They're
young. They look. Are you saying they look young?
Yeah, young.
Ken just got uncomfortable.
I mean,
can't blame him. It gets more uncomfortable as the story unfolds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to feel bad about laughing about this.
In fact, I want to take a shower again.
I mean, this thing could be. I mean, I think they would have said. I think the authorities would have said if the product was underage. Don't you?
No.
You don't think so?
They got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like they got to put all their ducks in a row. These women that they're talking to, the ones I don't know if the women themselves, have the women themselves been arrested?
Doesn't say.
Okay. Because, that's always part of the discussion is, have the women been arrested? Have the Johns been arrested? And also, of course, the guys who are the people that put this whole thing together, they will be arrested. But
that's all they are, the professional pimps.
Yeah, that's what they are. They're probably well-dressed and high-end. This whole thing is high-end. Again, they're talking about these apartments that they rented for these brothels, these high-end brothels, up $3,000-$4,000.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Almost as expensive as it is to live in Nashville.
Almost. Instead of calling them Johns, maybe we should call them Bills.
I think I should. Thank you.
Or Hunters.
We got Hunters.
Hunters might be more. Hunters might be more appropriate.
Yeah,
at this point,
because that's what they are.
So will they?
They're out hunting.
You know what? It's a double entendre thing there, Johnny.
It really is.
So from heretofore,
I'm emailing you now, brother Dan Mandis.
We will call them. We'll call them Hunters and not Johns.
Thank you, man. I appreciate.
Because I want to know. I was going to say, what did?
I get enough bad rap as it is. I don't need any more branding like that.
I wonder why did they call them Johns in the first place? Is it because it's relatively speaking a generic name?
Well, yeah, maybe that's it. What's your name, John? What's your name, John?
That's exactly right.
John.
All right, where did you email that to?
Emailed it to both of your email accounts, brother Dan.
My private ones? My Gmails? Where there are no receipts.
Yeah, I'm glad you added that.
Or requests for references.
Oh, well.
Because that sounded a little suspicious right after the story.
I
sent my private email.
I'm sending it to danshow997@gmail.com.
Wow. All right. Thank you, Ken, for you people that wanted to know how to get in touch with me privately. There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I thought. Oh.
No, that's not.
Oh, you want me to give me? I'll give my Gmail account.
It's too late. Nobody cares.
I'll give out my number.
Yeah, people can start sending me threatening message via text and email now. Thank you, Ken.
I'm sorry.
Dude, I'm totally kidding. It's all good, well, and fine.
Man. Weaver, they're never going to let me in a brothel.
No. Man, talk about loose lips sinking something.
What's your name? Ken Weaver.
Who's your reference?
I got your reference right
Dan
here.
Mandis told me. Dan Mandis told me to say.
Yeah, he said it in his private email.
Dan Mandis told me to reach out.
And his private email, by the way, is.
And Johnny B says hello.
It's like Dan
and
sent
here's
me.
Johnny's number.
All right, 5:22. Ken's got the news coming up at 5:30. This you are allowed to say, Ken. What's coming up?
Yeah, well, we're going to give you some more sound from this alleged prostitution ring that the U.S. Attorney's Office in Massachusetts has busted. That's pretty much the top story of the day. We'll give you some local details, too. It turns out the suspect in the Belmont area shooting apparently has a violent past, but was let off because he was deemed incompetent by doctors. These stories and more at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That is an absolutely infuriating story. We'll get into that as well at some point during the radio broadcast at 5:22. The Super Text line is open. A lot of funnies this morning. 615-737-9986. Dr. Kevin Mitchell and the Wellness Institute of Nashville, they are thankful for you. And to celebrate the month of Thanksgiving, November, the Wellness Institute of Nashville this month only is taking the 2023 special to a new level. 2 new patient appointments for just $23 for both. It's 2-for-1 special. That's 2 exams, 2 x-rays, and 2 treatments for you and a spouse, a friend, a family member, you name it. If you and someone in your life has any pain and tingling or numbness, they can help you at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. 615-246-5009 is the phone number. And take advantage of that 2 for the price of 1 special from Dr. Kevin Mitchell and the Wellness Institute of Nashville. 615-246-5009, painisbad.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies, and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
You know, I was laughing at myself, Ken and Johnny, because I was doing that Wellness Institute of Nashville commercial.
Yeah.
And this is what happens in my head. I was going through some of the lists of the things that you feel when you've got pain. And I came across the word numbness. And somehow I come up with like numbleness. And then I started thinking about maybe that's something that they offer in the brothel. That's what happens in my head. Now I'm going to be kicking myself all day because I started giggling at whatever the hell numbleness is. This is what happens in my head. And then I see this story. We're talking to, we were speaking to, oh, shoot, I don't have time now. What time am I out, Johnny?
About now. About now.
You know, that may be for the best. However, coming up, there is a story about this Judge Engeron, who is the judge in the Trump case in New York. I feel like we're doing like all kinds of creepy elites today, but maybe that's where we do need to go. There is a story about this judge who is, really anti-Trump, and the evidence is out there. But there's another really creepy story about him that is out there. I will talk about that during the Gang of Three Amigos on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Stoltzco, business is booming over at Stoltzco, and I'm going to tell you why. It is because they build great pole barns, and more Tennesseans are figuring that out. Now, if you don't know what a pole barn is, it is anything you want it to be. It can be a classic tool and work barn. It can be a garage. It can be a place to live. A pole barn is practical, efficient, and flexible, and they can change your life. So if you're hearing this commercial right now and thinking about a piece of land you have, maybe a section of your property that you don't know what to do with, put up a pole barn from Stoltzco. Find them online at STOLTZCO. That is Stoltzco.com. You can also find them on Instagram or Facebook as well. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. Stoltzco, where quality workmanship and great customer service is affordable. You can find them at this number, 615-622-5992, 615-622-5992 for Stoltzco.
5:30 on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we've got those changes coming in the weather today. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Federal authorities say they have busted what they call a high-end brothel network whose clients, they say, were among some of the most powerful people in the country. Federal investigators say this network of brothels for ultra-rich clients operated out of the Boston area and the D.C. suburbs.
They are doctors. They are lawyers. They're accountants, they're elected officials, they are executives at high-tech companies and pharmaceutical companies, they're military officers, government contractors, professors, scientists. Pick a profession, they're probably represented in this case.
Now, they say the brothels were promoted online with photos of scantily clad women. Officials say after their personal information was verified, clients would be offered sex services, some costing more than $600 per hour. Later today in Nashville, the man police say shot 18-year-old Belmont student Julian Ludwig makes his first court appearance. Shaquille Taylor admitted to firing shots at a car near an Edge Hill Park, according to police. One of the bullets struck Ludwig while she was simply out for a walk, and now she's fighting for her life. Taylor was prosecuted back in May on an aggravated assault with a deadly weapons charge. However, the DA says he was released after doctors testified Taylor was incompetent to stand trial. Right now in Nashville, 7 Metro police officers on paid administrative assignment after the public release of 3 pages purported to be from the Covenant School Shooters Manifesto. Metro says it's not a punishment. These officers still have full police power, but they're not going to be part of this investigation to protect the integrity of it, and the department will not release their identities. Entertainment news. Jason Nathanson says, looks like Hollywood's rebooting. Actors could be back on the set as soon as today, now that a tentative deal has been reached between the union and the studios. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. Busy Bee, plumbing, heating, and cooling. Fall is here. Winter is next. And you need to make sure that your home's heater is working and working well. Now, you become a Beehive member like I am, and I have been for like 10 years now. You ensure that you are running at peak efficiency for maximum comfort. And by the way, if your heater does break down, Beehive members get front-of-the-line service. So when hundreds or even thousands are without heat, you are going to get serviced first. Becoming a Beehive member also means that you get 3 thorough maintenance services a year, including plumbing, plus no overtime charges 24/7 and 10% off of all repairs. For satisfaction guaranteed, call my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
I love the state of Tennessee. I love everything about it, and I love hunting and fishing in the state of Tennessee, and what you guys do is so great. I was born and raised here, and this song is for Tennessee and everybody in it. Well, I have roamed across the land, and I have sailed deepest sea. When I've drawn my last breath, do this one thing for me. Say, won't you take me back to Tennessee, where southern streams are flowing free. Me and mine, Lord, will always be right at home in Tennessee. Right at home in the woods of Tennessee. Right at home in Tennessee. Awesome.
537 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the Gang of Three Amigos. Johnny's here. Good morning, Johnny.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Ken Weaver's here. Good morning, Ken, the bearded wonder. I'm Dan.
Good morning, Brother Dan Mandis, and Brother Johnny B.
So this Judge Engeron, who is, Aaron sent this to me, this judge who is presiding over what many call, including Hans von Spakovsky, spoke to him earlier this week, where we're talking about this judge and how he is incredibly anti-Donald Trump. I don't need to necessarily litigate that whole thing again. But now Judge Engeron, his personal tweets and things are coming out. Not only his, but also his wife's. Now, it's really interesting.
Okay.
Because there is this high school alumni newsletter that he is in charge of, and he sends out these photographs of him at the gym shirtless. I just tweeted it out. If you want to take a look at it, knock yourselves out. But it's like there's this 65, 70-year-old man, and he's topless, and he's sending this out to all kind of alumni. Just, you know what? It's his right if he's in charge of the newsletter, and people don't want to look at it, they don't have to look at it. It just seems a little creepy and weird.
Yeah.
I mean, is that creepy and weird? If maybe I'm over my skis on this one, but...
Was he a wrestler?
I don't know if he was a wrestler. You know what he looks like? He looks insane, actually. He looks like his hair is all askew. You know what I mean? And he's clearly like, feeling himself in the gym. On my best day, which I don't really have a lot of best days these days, but on my best day, I will not be sending out shirtless pictures.
No. In fact, I think there is a cutoff.
I
think there should be for some people.
I'm a fan of going shirtless.
Well, I know you are, Ken.
I just don't know if I send that out to a bunch of old high school classmates.
No. I like going shirtless too, but nobody sees it.
I was going to say, I will never send out a shirtless photo. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then you've got, moving right along.
Very well.
Somebody very welled me in a meeting yesterday.
You're kidding.
You know who it was?
Who?
I don't.
Marcel Marceau?
No, moving right along.
Okay.
It wasn't a very good meeting. Anyway, so Judge Engeron, very well. Judge Engeron's wife. Now, remember, this is the guy
I'm going to have to look this
who is
up.
presiding over the Trump civil trial in New York. Judge Engeron's wife has been tweeting anti-Trump memes throughout the trial.
Well, there you go.
Oh, yeah, there's no...
This is the same judge that said, I don't want to hear what Donald Trump has to say, right? So this whole thing, this is clearly a kangaroo court. And so they're calling this this is from the National Pulse. And they say the wife of far-left New York Supreme Court Judge Arthur Engeron is reported to have used a semi-anonymous account on Twitter to post politically charged attacks against former President Donald Trump. Dawn Marie Engeron, the judge's third and current wife, I'm not going to judge on that, has almost exclusively used her Twitter account to attack the former Republican president throughout the New York civil trial her husband is presiding over, including one that famously, of course, in big capital letters, says F Trump.
Oh!
Yeah. Now, here's the funny thing.
That's reasonable.
Clarence Thomas, I'm going to throw this out there. Remember all the hyperventilating that people had when the political missives of Clarence Thomas's wife, the Supreme Court Justice, his wife is pro-Trump, I guess, put that in air quotes, whatever. And so they're trying to, hang on her, this whole thing about how she's pro-insurrection and stuff. Well, what do you say about this, Democrats? When clearly this judge is kangaroo court-like and his wife is out there tweeting, horrific things like F Trump. Now, she can do, I suppose, whatever she wants, but when you look at the fact that the judge himself is so anti-Donald Trump in the way that he's presiding over this court, then, of course, you look at Letitia James, who is, right? Or Attorney General.
Yeah, she's the Attorney General.
Attorney
of New
General
York.
Letitia James, how she is, been going after Donald Trump as well. This is, people are pointing this out. They should not be presiding over this thing because they are so passionately anti-Trump. They're not looking for the truth. They're looking for a lynching. That's what they're looking for. They want Donald Trump dead.
Here's the thing.
Politically and otherwise, I would say.
Yeah. It's not working.
No,
it's just not working.
No, it's working for Trump.
It's working for Trump.
Absolutely. It's working for Donald Trump.
Yeah, the more they try to bring him down, the higher up he goes.
I love it.
Oh,
As well.
Yeah, it says the photos are of this judge's torso dated 2020 and 2021.
Okay.
Whenever he was 70.
You know what?
70 and 71.
I wonder if he ever visited Chicago. Or,
Watertown, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if he ever visited there.
Don't know, but here's the thing. When his wife is out there tweeting the things that she's tweeting, and again, I'm all for free speech. She could do whatever thing she wants, but when it comes to this trial, I guess the question would have to be, I would like to know where the Democrats stand on this. The same ones, I think Cory Booker was one who was, crying literally more than likely over Clarence Thomas's wife being pro-Trump and pro-insurrection. I want to know what he says about this. Because they want to destroy Donald Trump. And I want to know if they're have any problem with what his...
Yeah, they are.
I want to know... Well, here's the problem, though. Like, you guys are right, but Judge Engoron, he holds Donald Trump's future in his dirty, greasy palms.
Yeah, it's angering.
Because
it's extremely maddening.
This is why Donald Trump wants a jury trial, because this judge can say, guilty, and that means that Donald Trump is destroyed financially.
You know what's interesting about this? It is interesting how former President Trump is still exposing these people.
Yes.
He is still exposing these people.
That, Ken, is a great point, because... And he's doing it by defending himself.
And he's not, he doesn't even have to try. They're going to do it for him by targeting him.
Runs deep. Trump derangement syndrome does.
Okay.
You guys want to talk about numbleness? We do that.
Yeah, let's talk about
What
numbleness.
is numbleness?
Oh, you didn't hear that?
I did hear it, but I've never heard of that term.
It's something that I just made up in my
Oh,
head.
you
as
made
I was
up.
doing the
Okay.
commercial.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about numbleness.
For all I know, it actually is something. And if it's not, perhaps I've made it into something.
Well,
Anyway,
let's look it up.
You've come up with something new.
There you go. That's what we need. Anyway, whatever. So, hey, I know you guys didn't watch the. I know you guys didn't watch the debate last night.
Right.
No.
But I want to play. I'm going to do more on this in the 6 o'clock because there's a lot to talk about with the debate, actually, believe it or not. But there was also a moment that I thought was really interesting.
Okay.
Where you had this discussion regarding TikTok. Now, Nikki Haley, we're gonna go into the Wayback Machine, and this was one of the previous debates where Nikki Haley went after Vivek Ramaswamy regarding TikTok.
TikTok is one of the most dangerous social media apps that we could have. And what you've got, I honestly, every time I hear you, I feel a little bit dumber for what you say. Because I can't believe that here you've got a TikTok situation. What they're doing is these 150 million people are on TikTok. That means they can get your contacts, they can get your financial information, they can get your emails, they can get text messages, they can get all of these things. You're now wanting kids to go and get on the social media that's dangerous for all of us.
So I want to replay that last part.
You're now wanting kids to go and get on the social media that's dangerous for all of us.
All right, so the message from Nikki Haley is that TikTok is bad for kids, and she's accusing Vivek Ramaswamy of wanting kids to go onto TikTok, and it is dangerous.
Yeah.
So this was last night.
In the last debate, she made fun of me for actually joining TikTok while her own daughter was actually using the app for a long time. So you might want to take care of your family first.
Leave my daughter
Appreciate
out
taking
of your
care of
voice.
an adult daughter. The next generation of Americans are using it. And That's actually the point. You have her supporters propping her up. That's fine. Here's the truth.
You're just
the easy
scum.
answer is actually to say that we're just going to ban one app. We got to go further.
All right, so, I mean, we'll do the bigger point later, but here's the deal. She came after Vivek Ramaswamy
She did.
and said, you want kids to be on TikTok. Well,
she threw it out there.
Yes, she did.
And so when she said, you just scum. Why is he just scum? Because that is perfectly valid to point out.
Because he was being honest.
Yeah.
He was being
Because
honest.
he was being honest.
Absolutely, he's being honest. And so
she got caught.
She did absolutely get caught. And
yeah, that'll make you mad. Especially whenever all these names start coming out from the U.S. Attorney's office in Massachusetts.
Oh, man.
Tell you what.
Boy, I tell you, man.
You know, Vivek came out swinging last night. Like,
Yeah,
I'm sure, Ken, you
I was listening to the guys overnight, man. They were playing some audio from him, and he was going scorched earth.
Yeah, he did. He's got nothing to lose.
No.
He's got nothing to lose. So I'm going to play one more audio bite from Vivek Ramaswamy last night. This was actually my favorite moment.
I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night.
Yep.
We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer in the Republican establishment.
Yep.
Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018. 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party.
Amen.
You think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, do you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate?
He's got a great point.
He does.
Yeah, he does.
He's
got
spot
a great
on.
point. You've got Kirsten Welker, you've got Lester Holt, and you do have Hugh Hewitt up there. And he's right. Because you've got these clearly anti-Republican, and we've talked about Kirsten Welker since she took over for, I think it's Meet the Press, right? I think it's whatever. So but she has been out there very decidedly anti-Republican, and I don't believe that the Democrats would hire Greg Gutfeld to moderate one of their debates, and when he goes after Kirsten Welker, she's sort of smiling, and it does continue, by the way.
They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question. Go.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I love it.
Yes, sir.
You know what they said? We're the ones that answer the questions. Ask the questions. We're the ones that ask the questions. And she's just smiling. Like there was nowhere for them to go.
Yeah.
Because he's absolutely right. Whether it is the Russian collusion, whether it is the laptop from hell. I mean, all of those things. And so there's a lot of people out there that are saying that Ron DeSantis won the debate last night. For me, whatever. I think that Vivek Ramaswamy, he was huge last night. I think that he went after the people that he wanted to go after. And again, as I said, he's got, at this point, nothing to lose. And by the way, Donald Trump was doing his own event and right across the way or what have you.
And probably had more people.
Yeah, it was 30 minutes away.
Was it 30 minutes away? All right. There you go.
I got to give the guy props for that.
I'm telling
Trump?
you.
Oh,
I mean,
awesome.
every time. It's like poor old Jeb Bush.
I just go back. I'm telling you, Trump is who he is, and hate him or love him, he's still the most effective president I think we've ever had.
Well, he is. And I was watching.
I mean, he is doing it his way.
Yep.
And I remember the mainstream media just losing their minds.
Yeah.
That very first press conference he held.
Oh, when they really lost their minds, what my favorite part was election night.
Yes.
When they could not get away from the fact that he had won.
Yeah.
And the looks on the faces and how they tried to keep that news.
Mr. President, this is highly irregular that a sitting president would behave this way. Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to tell you, it's I don't know, and I've got some audio bites that I'm going to pull from Trump last night. A lot of it was the same stuff that we hear from Donald Trump all the time. I don't think he said anything earth-shattering except that
it's still fun to listen to.
It's still fun to listen to. He did say last night's debate was unwatchable. You know what? I would say. Oh, and some commentator. You know what some commentator said about Chris Christie?
What?
He called him the white Lizzo. Very well. 5:53. News is coming up at 6. Ken Weaver, what you got?
Okay. All right, we're going to have more on this high-end brothel network that was busted in Massachusetts. We're going to tell you who the clientele includes. They haven't released names yet, but that's going to be a whole nother story when they do. And then back to reality here. That man who shot that 18-year-old Belmont student is making his first court appearance today. And it turns out he's got a long, violent history, and people are wondering, why is he free? We'll tell you about it at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much. At 5:53, DT McCall's just in time for the holidays, friends. DT McCall's has some great news. Their gun safes are sales tax free. It is, of course, hunting season, so you're going to go hunting. But when you're home, those guns do need to be locked up in that tax-free gun safe that you're going to get at DT McCall's. And when you go to DT McCall's to get your gun safe, be sure as always to tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. Now, they are Tennessee's largest Liberty gun safe dealer. They also offer free delivery and free setup as well. Others are going to charge you up to $500 for delivery and setup, depending on the size, but not DT McCall's. They deliver and set up for free. And you can use your gun safe to keep anything safe: valuables, cash, jewelry, documents, wills, deeds, car titles, whatever. Your most important valuables are safe from theft and fire with a gun safe from DT McCall's. So save big bucks on your gun safe when you shop at DT McCall's, because they are now sales tax free. Details and locations at their website at dtmccalls.com.
6 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Changes come today in the weather we've been talking about. Some much needed rain. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Federal authorities say they have busted what they call a high-end brothel network that operated out of the Boston area and Washington, D.C. suburbs.
This commercial sex ring was built on secrecy and exclusivity, catering to a wealthy and well-connected clientele.
That's acting U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, Joshua Levy. He says clientele included elected officials, military officers, government contractors with security clearances. They say the brothels were promoted online with photos of scantily clad women. Officials say after their personal information was verified, clients would be offered sex services, some costing more than $600 per hour. The Justice Department announcing the arrests of 3 men accused of running the sex ring out of California. Later today in Nashville, the man police say shot 18-year-old Belmont student Julian Ludwig makes his first court appearance. Shaquille Taylor admitted to firing shots at a car near an Edge Hill park. Well, one of those bullets struck Ludwig while she was simply out for a walk. Now she's fighting for her life. And it turns out Taylor had been prosecuted in May on an aggravated assault with a deadly weapons charge, but he was released after doctors said he was incompetent to stand trial. Entertainment news, Hollywood is rebooting. Actors could be back on the set as soon as today now that a tentative deal has been reached between the union and the studios. Elsewhere, Jason Nathanson says something happened at last night's Country Music Association Awards that hasn't happened in a dozen years.
Lainey Wilson took home the big prize, Entertainer of the Year, at Wednesday night's CMA Awards.
I've been in this town for 12 and a half years, and it finally feels like country music is starting to love me back. I love it with my whole heart.
It's the first time a woman has won the top prize in 12 years since Taylor Swift did it in 2011. Wilson also won Album of the Year for Bell Bottom Country. The show aired on ABC.
Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, beaconcm.com. If you want to check online, here's Jim Ryan.
The Dow slipped a bit, but the S&P 500 continued its longest winning streak in 2 years yesterday, rising 0.1%. The Nasdaq also picked up a fraction. The Dow closed down 40 points at 34,112. A rally in the Treasury market has pushed interest rates to their lowest level in 16 months. 30-year fixed-rate mortgages are down 0.25 point to about 7.6%, but would-be buyers are still sitting on the sidelines. Purchase applications are 20% below where they were a year ago. Sony reports a 29% decline in operating profit in the company's second quarter. Still, the company is raising its full-year sales forecast. Barbie and Oppenheimer pushed AMC Entertainment above expectations last quarter, helped along by higher ticket prices and increased movie attendance. Taylor Swift and Beyoncé concert films are expected to boost AMC sales in the fourth quarter of the year.
All right, checking futures ahead of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street. Dow futures up 41, S&P up 4, NASDAQ down 9. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
My name is Jessica Robertson, and I was like him, addicted to more. I remember things really spiraled out of control for me and him both. And we had hit rock bottom. I couldn't even function enough to keep a job. I was so isolated. He was here 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Just 3 weeks' time, the difference that this program had made, that God had made in his life, you know, and I just remember I wanted that. I wanted that too. I was able to heal and reset. I had a great counselor, great staff members. You know, the love of God is all in this place. And that's what's helped me. And seeing people walk through those doors at first just broken, just like I was. And then a few months later, get to see that light come back on in them. You know, I know that's God working in them.
Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6:07 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Coming up, have you heard the story? It's an accusation where AP and Reuters and some of these other news agencies were embedded with Hamas as they invaded Israel and killed 1,400 innocent people. Have you heard this story? Therefore, they would have known that this attack was about to happen, days in advance. It's a mind-boggling story. I'm going to talk to Michael Patrick Leahy about that story and other stories coming up at 7:35 here on Nashville's Morning News with the Tennessee Star on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So many stories that are out there today, including, of course, the debate last night. I've got some audio from that as well. And here's what's interesting. There's a couple of headlines out there that are trying to convince the American people that Vivek Ramaswamy actually imploded last night. Now, I don't understand the New York Post. This is their headline: Republican debate verdict, impressive Haley shines, and stupid Vivek self-destructs. Now, I don't know if what I saw last night and what I heard this morning in reviewing the audio, I don't know if I would say that Vivek Ramaswamy as self-destructed. I don't think that is what I saw at all. But by and large, people are saying that Ron DeSantis got really the most props from that debate. That DeSantis, he really didn't allow himself to be dragged down by Ramaswamy. Nikki Haley certainly did. And there was one moment, I'm going to play this audio for you, where Ramaswamy absolutely hammered Nikki Haley. And he actually called her a Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels. And it's kind of a funny, there's no other way to say this. It's kind of a funny slight against Dick Cheney.
And visual.
It is quite the visual as well. This is what it sounded like because they were talking about, of course, Israel, and they're talking about what you would tell Benjamin Netanyahu.
Not in terms of what I would tell the prime minister, no. In fact, I would go one step further. The founding vision of Israel was based on the idea that they don't want to depend on anybody else's sympathy or direction in defending themselves. So what I would tell Bibi is that Israel has the right and the responsibility to defend itself. I would tell him to smoke those terrorists on his southern border, and then I'll tell him as president of the United States, I'll be smoking the terrorists on our southern border.
There you go.
That's his responsibility. This is our responsibility. That's how we move forward. But I want to be careful to avoid making the mistakes from the neocon establishment of the past.
And then, of course, that's where he leads into this reference to Dick Cheney, and this is a very stinging moment.
The fact of the matter is the Republican Party is not that much better. You have the likes of Nikki Haley, who stepped down from her time at the UN. Bankrupt or in debt was her family. Then she becomes a military contractor. She joins the board of Boeing and otherwise, and is now a multimillionaire. So I think that that's wrong when Republicans do it or Democrats do it. That's the choice we face. Do you want a leader from a different generation who's going to put this country first? Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right, Mr.
In which case, we've got two of them on stage tonight.
Ramaswamy, thank you.
There you go. So, what he said.
Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right, Mr.
Listen, it's Dick Cheney. There's no secret. Dick Cheney ran Halliburton, then became vice president for Bush, and then Halliburton got a ton of contracts during the Iraq War. Cheney got millions of dollars in the end. Even PolitiFact talks about all of that. I could spend an entire segment on that, but I'm not going to. But that is clearly what I would say a legit accusation against Dick Cheney. Now, here's the deal with Nikki Haley. She was the South Carolina governor. Then she was part of the Trump administration as UN ambassador for 2 years. And then she decided to leave. To Ramaswamy's point, they say she was worth less than $1 million, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, being less than $1 million. I mean, a lot of us would be happy to be worth, a couple of $1,000s. And so Nikki Haley, she wasn't making, or she wasn't worth what she thought that she should be worth. So she left the UN and decided to go into the private sector. This is from the New York Post, and you can decide for yourself whether or not this is a legit criticism of Nikki Haley. She parlayed her national prominence into a financial windfall by hitting the speaking circuit, joining the boards of top companies and penning 2 books, according to an extensive look at the GOP hopeful's finances by Forbes. Haley, a proponent of term limits, had served as U.S. ambassador to the UN for 2 years before telling Donald Trump in her resignation letter, "I expect you will appreciate my sense that returning from government to the private sector is not a step down, but a step up." The move, they say, quickly paid dividends. Last year, she hauled in $2.3 million from speeches at 11 events, according to Forbes. She also banked more than $700,000 in consulting fees, as well as more than $300,000 in cash and stock from aerospace giant Boeing, which appointed her to the board of directors in 2019. She stepped down from Boeing's board the following year. Haley, however, remains a director for United Homes Group, which has paid her more than $250,000, a sum that does not include future equity grants and other perks, according to Forbes. The only woman, they say, running for the GOP nomination fetched an additional $350,000 advance from her publisher before writing her book, If You Want Something Done, Leadership Lessons from Bold Women, which was released last year. Her previous book, With All Due Respect, Defending America with Grit and Grace, was published in 2019 and sold about 100,000 copies. They say the infusion of cash helped her plunk down $2.4 million for a 4-bedroom, 5,700 square foot home in Kiowa Island in South Carolina in 2019, according to Forbes. And now she's worth like $8-9 million. Her newfound wealth comes after she barely had $100,000 in her bank account before she was elected governor of South Carolina in 2014, according to Forbes. But they say the daughter of Indian immigrants began building her fortune soon after taking over the Palmetto State, scoring $475,000 advance for her first book, Can't Is Not an Option, which was published by Penguin Books. And she and her husband, college sweetheart Michael Haley, also proceeded to help her parents with her financial burdens after the collapse of their clothing business, according to Forbes. I'm just going to tell you that there's some things here I don't necessarily like or dislike her being on the board of Boeing. However, if she ends up being the president of the United States, which I don't believe that she will, but if all of a sudden we end up in war or whatever happens and Boeing ends up getting a whole bunch of contracts, well, then that's going to be immediately suspicious to me. That's part of what Dick Cheney did with Halliburton. So, but the other stuff, you know, the books, I mean, it is her right to write books. It is her, Vivek Ramaswamy wrote books too. It is her right to give speeches. I'm sure that Vivek Ramaswamy is going to make a bunch of money, has made money giving speeches as well. So I don't necessarily have an issue with people making money and capitalizing on whatever success they have had, as long as everything is on the up and up and there isn't any undue influence later on if they ultimately end up in positions of power. 6:16, time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment, WTN Traffic Center. Thank you very much. At 6:16, cloudy with rain possible today, a high of 70. Right now it is 70 degrees, rain on Friday as well. Saturday dry, then a chance of rain on Sunday as well. By the way, the Super Text line is open. I don't know, you tell me, you agree or disagree? I just gave you the rundown on how Nikki Haley went from roughly, being worth under $100,000, they say, to becoming governor, then becoming an ambassador to the UN, leaves the UN, makes a whole bunch of money, writing speeches, giving speeches, writing books, and yes, on the board of Halliburton and other companies as well. And now she's built a worth of $8 or $9 million. Listen, people build their brands as they accomplish in life, as they get older in life. When I was in my mid-20s, I was probably worth about $5, and now I'm worth a little bit more than $5 because I've improved my lot in life through hard work and experience. I can't fault Nikki Haley for that, and I don't even like her as a candidate. I mean, there's some things that I like, but the question is she corrupt? And is she part of the swamp? And if she ended up in a position of power and influence, then would her past ties to Boeing, would that ultimately lead to big government contracts with Boeing? And does that make her a war hawk and a warmonger and all of these other things? You tell me on the super text line, 615-737-9986. There's some very legit things that I don't like about Nikki Haley. But I don't believe that improving her lot in life, as long as there's nothing corrupt there, I don't believe that improving your lot in life through hard work, dedication, and taking advantage of opportunities, I don't believe that's something that we should complain about or attack about with someone who is running for president, unless the money that she's made, $8-9 million, was made through, what did they say, ill-gotten gains. It is 619, but listen, you prove me wrong. 615-737-9986. 615-737-WWTN. Coming up next, who the media believes won last night's Republican debate. They also, by the way, spoke about what is going on college campuses across America. This is Nikki Haley, and part of what she said.
If the KKK were doing this, every college president would be up in arms. This is no different. You should treat it exactly the same. Anti-Semitism is just as awful as racism, and we've got to make sure they're protected. And for something, Hamas said death to Israel and death to America. They hate and would kill you too. And the idea that they're talking about genocide for the Jewish people, that's not the values of America. That's not us. We're better than that.
Well, apparently we're not better than that, at least on college campuses. That is what Nikki Haley had to say. Ron DeSantis, who many people are saying is the one that won the debate. This was his take on anti-Semitism in college campuses.
I was the first presidential candidate to say, if you are here on a student visa as a foreign national, you're making common cause with Hamas, I'm canceling your visa and I'm sending you home. No questions asked. Joe Biden should have the Department of Justice on these college campuses and holding the universities accountable for civil rights violations. When you should not have money going to these places. I already acted in Florida. We had a group, Students for Justice of Palestine. They said they are common cause with Hamas. They said, we're not just in solidarity, this is what we are. We deactivated them. We're not going to use state tax dollars to fund jihad. No way. And as president, I can tell you this, we are not going to stand for this on college campuses any longer.
All right, Governor, thank you. Let me turn to Governor.
Yeah, and then Vivek Ramaswamy had his take. Now, he talked about, I played Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis first because what Ramaswamy is going to say is the answer, and I agree with Vivek. The answer is not censoring these young adults, these kids, whatever it is that you want to call them. And the answer is to, my opinion, educate them. Listen to Vivek Ramaswamy.
Now, I think it's really important that we do this through leadership, not censorship. Leadership means fill that void with purpose and meaning. Dilute this wokeism and anti-Semitism to irrelevance. These kids, they have no idea what the heck they're even talking about when they're siding with Hamas over Israel. They are fools. But I also want to caution here, if we go the direction of Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, with whom I respectfully disagree on this issue, pro-censorship, telling student groups to disband, mark my words, soon they will say if you question a vaccine and its side effects, you're a bioterrorist. Soon they will say that if you show up at a school board meeting, you're a domestic terrorist. Soon if they say that J6 prisoners should be released, you're an insurrectionist terrorist. So that's where this road ends. We don't quash this with censorship because that creates a worse underbelly. We quell it through leadership by calling it out. These university administrators have lost their way, and we need leadership at the top in the United States of America that restores our founding values and that has no place for this kind of anti-Semitic hate.
I mean, listen, I think Vivek makes some great points there. So for me, I agree where when it comes to all of these groups, I don't believe that we should be funding these groups, which you have on college campuses all across the country. You do have these anti-Semitic, in my opinion, pro-Hamas groups. We should not be funding those, and that is part of what Ron DeSantis did in Florida. However, I don't believe that these folks should be censored because how many of us do, certainly as fans of talk radio, we do live by free speech and the First Amendment. So there's a lot going on. I don't know if Vake, some people are saying he's self-destructed. I think that he came out swinging. And again, I don't believe that he had really much of a choice because, at least for me, everyone, it is clear, understands that there really is only one person right now that the Republican Party is interested in, and that is Donald Trump. It is 6:23. Ken Weaver's got the news at 6:30. Ken, what's coming up?
Well, we're waiting to see if there will be any names released. Those names on the client list of a high-end brothel network busted last night for doing business across the country, including D.C. suburbs. And we're going to learn more about the suspect in the Belmont campus area shooting. Today makes his first court appearance after the 18-year-old student was shot while out on a walk. She is now fighting for her life, but this suspect apparently was in custody for assault with a deadly weapon and then was released. We'll tell you about it at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. At 6:23 on Nashville's Morning News. I'm going to talk about that coming up at 6:35. 18-year-old Jillian Ludwig, they say not expected to survive. You had not one, not two, but three different doctors who said that this dude was not competent to stand trial. I've got some questions about those doctors coming up at 6:35 on Nashville's Morning News. So many folks are buried in credit card debt. Maybe you these days. Loan Pronto can help you. What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? You can with Loan Pronto. And with Loan Pronto, you don't have to do a full home refi. You can simply tap a small portion of the equity in your home and enjoy a super low monthly payment. It is fast. Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line can get you closed and debt-free in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan is only going to cost you around $400 a month. By the way, you should also ask about their amazing VA loan programs as well. 615-499-5780 for Loan Pronto. 615-499-5780. That is the phone number. Be sure and tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. The website, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS number 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies, and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Hey, if you need new windows, you've got to call my friends at Window Nation because right now they have a great deal going on. You can also save money on your energy bills because new windows from Window Nation is so incredibly efficient. Now, here's the deal. And this is the company that I went through for my new windows in my basement studio, Window Nation. They are offering you this fantastic offer. Get 0% interest for 5 years. Now, you know how high interest rates are right now. You get 0% interest rate for 5 years. Also, you buy 2 windows, you get 2 windows free, and no, there is no limit. So any way you look at it, you're going to get great windows, and you're going to save a incredible amount of money when you go through the company that I went through, Window Nation. And again, that great deal, call it a Dan deal, get 0% interest for 5 years. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free. There is no limit. When you mention my name, Dan Mandis, at 866-90-NATION, call them, 866-90-NATION, and get more information at their website. It is windownation.com, 866-90-NATION for Window Nation.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Changes come today in the weather. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Federal authorities say they have busted what they call a high-end brothel network, whose clients, they say, were among some of the most powerful people in the country. Acting U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts, Joshua Levy, spoke at a news conference in Boston yesterday. He says these brothels were promoted online with photos of scantily clad women.
These websites facilitated the movement of predominantly Asian women across the United States for sex trafficking and a commercial sex ring, exploiting them in the process.
Yeah, officials say after their personal information was verified, clients would be offered sex services, some costing more than $600 per hour. That clientele included elected officials, according to authorities. Later today in Nashville, the suspect in the shooting that has left a Belmont student fighting for her life makes his first court appearance on charges in that incident today. But this won't be his first time in trouble with the law. The DA's office says Shaquille Taylor was prosecuted for assault with a deadly weapon in May, but was released after doctors testified he was incompetent to stand trial. Vote 2024. Andy Field with the highlight from last night's Republican presidential primary debate.
On top of all 5 candidates criticizing former President Trump, they all appeared to agree that Mr. Trump hasn't done much to help other Republicans win.
I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers.
On that NBC debate, candidate Vivek Ramaswamy blaming Republican Chair Ronna McDaniel for many years of GOP losses. calling on her to resign.
Former President Trump was barely mentioned outside of the first question of the night, and only then was primarily criticized for his spending policies. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. It's 6:33. This is for all my listeners who are struggling with hair loss. Now, I'm sure that you've tried all the lotions and the pills and the creams and the potions. With so many options and doctors out there, who are you going to trust and what is really going to grow your hair back? The Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair has an incredible breakthrough just for you. Receding hairline, thinning hair, bald spots. Advanced Hair offers simple and quick one-day treatments that begin regrowing your own natural hair the very next day. Advanced Hair even guarantees that your new hair is going to grow. Now, it does work for both men and women across all ages, and there is no one in hair restoration that I recommend more. Now, for your free consultation, you can call them at 629-348-HAIR, 629-348-HAIR. And if you move forward and mention my name, you're going to get $500 off. 629-348-HAIR. Refine your hairline with the team that has redefined hair restoration. And don't forget to ask about that guarantee. Make sure to view the incredible before and after photos at advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. 6:38 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line is open 615-737-9986. What a horrifying story. 18-year-old Jillian Ludwig goes out for a walk and ends up with a bullet in the head. You know, it's interesting. Amy and I are planning a special occasion. It's going to be her birthday coming up, so we're celebrating this Saturday. And we're going to a nice restaurant, and then about 6 blocks away, there's another thing that we're going to be going to. And she said, would you like to walk from the restaurant to the place? Because it's like a 15-minute walk. And I said, you know what? Typically, I would say, sure. I am not going to risk my life by walking in Nashville. I mean, is that wrong? I don't think it's wrong, especially with what we see now. WSMV. The suspect in the shooting of Belmont student released from custody in May after a mental evaluation. Now, this dude, he is obviously bad news. Shaquille Taylor, 29 years old. And this guy has been in trouble for years. The man accused of critically injuring a Belmont freshman on Tuesday, released from custody in May, as Ken has been reporting, after doctors determined he was not competent to stand trial, according to Nashville DA Glenn Funk. So, you know, my question is this. They had not one, not two, but 3 doctors that said that Shaquille Taylor was incompetent to stand trial. Now, I want to know who these doctors are and what are they using to base this on? Because after this whole thing happened, Shaquille Taylor went to his girlfriend's house. He was able to drive a car. He's got a gun. And so it seems to me like if this dude is competent enough to do all of these things, then he should be competent enough to stand trial. So part of what I want to know, and I'm going to try and find out, and I'll be stonewalled because I always am when I'm asking these questions, is there sort of an understanding? I'm just throwing this out there because we know that there's a certain contingent of folks on the left, mainly district attorneys in blue cities, who don't like to put people in jail. They don't like consequences. They don't like any of this stuff unless you do something really, really, really bad. And so you've got these 3 doctors that say, well, Shaquille Taylor, he's not mentally competent to stand trial. Okay, what's the basis for that? Because he's able to walk among us, and I do understand that there's a lot of people who are, you know, mentally incompetent in our world who perhaps you can make the determination as to whether or not they are competent to stand trial. But this guy was competent enough to, again, drive a truck that was carjacked, an F-150. And he was competent enough to have a girlfriend and shoot a gun. So what is the basis for, you know, this not competent to stand trial? And is there an understanding between the district, you know, Nashville, and the DA's office and these, doctors where they'll say, there's an understanding. We don't necessarily want to send all of these guys to jail because, well, you know, equity and all this other kind of stuff, because we find jail is racist, right? I mean, all of that BS. And so they employ these doctors, and the doctors, basically there's an understanding, well, they'll say, well, he's not competent enough to stand trial. And so they don't. This guy gets off scot-free. Even though this guy has a rap sheet a mile long. Taylor, according to WSMV, has a long criminal history dating back to 2010, according to a Tennessee Bureau of Investigation background check obtained by WSMV4. The first charges back in 2010 included aggravated robbery and possession of a handgun. Similar charges through Taylor's record throughout the years up to this shocking situation on Tuesday include assault, robbery, aggravated burglary, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, vehicle theft, and a whole lot more. You know, where did they think this guy was going to end up? Did they think that he was just going to end up as somehow, because they decided that he was not competent to stand trial, that he was going to suddenly become a an upstanding citizen? No. There's only one place for this guy to go, and that was more violent. And now 18-year-old Jillian Ludwig is yet another name on the list of many, many, many Americans who have been killed, murdered by bad guys that should have been in jail. But he wasn't in jail because he was deemed mentally incompetent by those 3 doctors. So here's what I think needs to happen. We need to take a close look at who these doctors are, what they get paid, and is there an understanding? And I don't know if there is or not. I'm asking the question. Is there an understanding between the DA's office and these doctors where they don't want to put people in jail, and so they have these doctors to say, well, they're not competent. Oh, okay, not competent. Meantime, maybe it's going to be your family or you or your loved one that is going to be the next victim of the next Shaquille Taylor. And if we don't have enough prison space, build more damn prisons. Because I'm tired. I'm exhausted of seeing people who are victimized and killed, murdered, and maimed by people that should have been in jail, that should have been in prison, and they're not. And somehow this is okay with people like Glenn Funk until something horrific happens, and then everybody starts pointing fingers at everybody else. And nobody suffers any consequences, except for the innocent in us, among us, like 18-year-old Jillian Ludwig. It's very, very sad, incredibly sad. And according to police, Taylor was shooting at a car when a bullet hit Ludwig in the head. Police found Ludwig at about 3:30 p.m., an hour after she was shot. And so officers had to search the area for evidence. I mean, this guy, he's just shooting, because, these guys, they just shoot. They don't care where the bullet goes. He's just, probably shooting sideways like these guys do, right? They don't even do it the right way, just shooting sideways at a dark sedan. Don't care where the bullet goes. And that means that he is somehow mentally incompetent. Unbelievable. And I believe that District Attorney Glenn Funk and these 3 doctors, I think they have some explaining to do. Will they explain? Will they come on this radio program or others? No, they won't. I mean, every time we mention Glenn Funk in a negative way, I get a call from the office. I bet Matt gets a call from the office today because he talked about Glenn Funk yesterday. And here we are with another innocent victim not expected to survive. Running late, 6:46. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Cloud with rain possible. Johnny, thank you for turning on my mic. Possible rain today, a high of 70. We're going backwards now. It's now 69 degrees. Rain on Friday. Saturday going to be dry, apparently, then a chance of rain again on Sunday. And again, 69 here at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Super Text line is blank Glenn Funk. That's pretty much the overriding message from the Super Text line, 615-737-9986. 2166 says, how many times do these things have to happen before the DA gets the boot? Another one, 0330. Glenn Funk needs to be called out every single day. It goes on and on. I think I've said my piece on this. Did you see this story? This is pretty much, it seems to me anyway, under the radar. Not sure if anybody else is going to cover it today, but the headline from honestreporting.com, I'm waiting to see if some of the other networks pick it up. The headline is Photographers Without Borders. The Associated Press and Reuters pictures of Hamas atrocities raising ethical questions. So apparently the Associated Press and Reuters, they were, from what I understand, the accusation is that they were embedded with Hamas as they were going into Israel to kill people in their beds and, kill little innocent babies. And so the question is, did they know about these atrocities ahead of time? I mean, because I want you to think about this. Do you think that, the Associated Press and Reuters, do you think that they have, bureaus within Hamas, within the tunnels of Hamas? No. So if that allegation is true, then somehow Hamas let the Associated Press and Reuters know, hey, on October 7th, we're going to go after, we're going to invade Israel and kill a bunch of innocent people. They say on October 7th, Hamas terrorists were not the only ones who documented the war crimes they had committed during their deadly rampage across southern Israel. Some of their atrocities were captured by Gaza-based photojournalists working for the Associated Press and Reuters news agencies, whose early morning presence at the breached border area raises serious ethical questions. These are the questions. What were they doing there so early on what would ordinarily have been a very quiet Saturday morning? Was it coordinated with Hamas? Did the respectable wire services, which published their photos, approve of their presence inside of enemy territory together with terrorist infiltrators? And did the photojournalists who freelance for other media like CNN and the New York Times notify these outlets? Judging, they say, from the pictures of lynching, kidnapping, and storming of an Israeli kibbutz, it seems like the border has been breached not only physically, but also journalistically. That's a tough one. And again, I don't know if these allegations are true. They say 4 names appear on AP's photo credits from the Israel-Gaza border area on October 7th. Hassan Islaya, Yasuf Masood, Ali Mahmoud, and Hatim Ali. There you go. I'm sure I got one of those partially right. But anyway, they talk about how some of these folks are freelancers who also work for CNN and so forth. So that's the question, who knew what when? And that is most certainly a conversation perhaps that folks will be having. We'll see if the mainstream media does pick that up. But that was just on fire yesterday on Twitter. It is 6:51 on Super Talk 99.7. WTN, the Super Text line is open at 615-737-9986. Dan Mandis here with a question for you. If your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you do need to ask, because some insurance companies, they simply will refuse full replacement cost. They'll deduct money for an older roof. Now, this means that the insurance company will depreciate how much they pay for your roof claim. That could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. Now, my friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 20-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes my friends at King & Associates Insurance one of the absolute best insurance companies around. So call them and tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 615-329-8121. 615-329-8121. You can also get your royal review at tkinginsurance.com. the Wellness Institute of Nashville, and my buddy Dr. Kevin Mitchell. This is a guy that helped me with my chronic back and neck pain through spinal decompression therapy, and they can help you as well. Now, to celebrate the month of Thanksgiving, November, the Wellness Institute of Nashville, for this month only, is taking the 2023 special to a new level. 2 new patient appointments for $23. Basically, it's you and a friend, family member, whatever. 2 people for the price of 1 with the Wellness Institute of Nashville, $23. That's 2 exams, 2 x-rays, and 2 treatments for you for just $23, you and a friend or a family member. So if you or someone in your life has any tingling, numbness, weakness, back pain, and so forth, they can help you today. You've got to call them at 615-246-5009. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out if you would, 615-246-5009, and take advantage of the Wellness Institute of Nashville. 2 new patient exams, x-rays, and treatments for the price of 1, $23. 615-246-5009. The website, painisbad.com. .656, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Man, are we halfway done with the show already? Coming up, we're going to talk a little bit more about this, maybe a lot more, about this brothel that they have uncovered in the Boston area. Of course, you've got Southern California, you've got Washington, D.C., the suburbs of Washington, D.C., and the Boston area, all sort of impacted by this situation. It's got its handprints in all of these different areas. And so we'll talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Here comes those changes in the weather we've been talking about, and we need full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Federal authorities say they have busted a high-end brothel network that operated out of the Boston area and Washington, D.C. suburbs. Rhiannon Alley says the Justice Department announcing the arrests of 3 individuals accused of running the sex ring.
The brothels were allegedly run out of high-end apartment buildings, including one in the Boston suburb of Watertown. Investigators say the ringleader, one of 3 people now charged in this case, was seen delivering women and exchanging cash. Officials have yet to reveal any of the clients' names so far, but here's how they describe them.
They are doctors, they are lawyers, they're accountants, they're elected officials, they are executives at high-tech companies and pharmaceutical companies, they're military officers, government contractors, professors, scientists.
Yeah, they say the brothels were promoted online with photos of scantily clad women. Officials say after their personal information was verified, clients would be offered sex services, some costing more than $600 per hour. Later today in Nashville, the Belmont area shooting suspect goes before a judge on aggravated assault charges. But this won't be the first time before a judge on criminal charges for this man. Channel 4's Ryan Breslin says Shaquille Taylor has a long, violent criminal history.
Taylor's most recent aggravated assault charge was in May of this year. The district attorney's office could not prosecute Taylor, saying the case was dismissed and Taylor was released from custody because he was found incompetent to stand trial. Even though he was deemed incompetent for mental health reasons, doctors that reviewed his case say he did not meet the standards for involuntary commitment to a mental health facility.
Police say Taylor on Tuesday admitted to firing shots at a car near the Edge Hill Park where 18-year-old Belmont student Julian Ludwig was on a walk. She was struck in the head by a stray bullet and is now fighting for her life. Right now in Nashville, 7 Metro police officers are on paid administrative assignment after the public release of those 3 pages purported to be from the Covenant School Shooters Manifesto. Metro says this is not a punishment for the officers. They still have full police power, but will not be part of the investigation in order to protect its integrity. And the department is not releasing those officers' identities at this time. Vote 2024, another Republican presidential primary in the books, the third one which former President Trump skipped, instead campaigning about 10 miles away.
2024 is our final battle. Stand with me in the fight. We will finish the job that we started so brilliantly 7 years ago. We never had a country like we had just 3 years ago.
30 miles away in Miami, the other 5 GOP candidates took Trump to task, blaming him for all of the losses, including Tuesday's state and local races. Market Numbers Report. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Right now, it looks like Dow futures are up 55. S&P futures up 7, NASDAQ up 2. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Nashville's morning news with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
708 Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. So much going on. Ken Weaver's here. John and B is here as well. Ken.
Yeah, brother Dan.
So you can't hear it from all the way out here in Nashville.
Yeah.
But knees are knocking and people are shaking out there in Washington, D.C. because of this brothel story that you were reporting on.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do a bit of a deep dive into this. And so from what I understand, you have this brothel that the feds have uncovered. And they're saying that you've got, it's high end, you've got, Asian girls, some of them may be young. So we're talking about, human trafficking on top of everything else. But you've got politicians. Basically, they said, you name the, higher end, highfalutin kind of person, whether it's a politician, a lawyer, whatever, they're involved in this.
That's what the U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts is saying. Very rich people.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about pharmaceutical executives, doctors, military officers, government contractors who possess security clearances, professors, lawyers, scientists, accountants.
Now, when you talk about security clearances, people that have security clearances, by doing what they're doing, they are putting themselves at risk of blackmail, I would think.
I would think that you are definitely making yourself vulnerable to that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The weird part of this story, and I don't know if you had time to mention it in your news piece, but part of this is that this was a very, high-end kind of a thing. And so if you wanted to partake in this, then you had to come with references.
Yeah.
And
had to give your name,
your phone number, and they would provide you with a like a menu of what was available.
Yes.
And the menu would be of girls, and I what they provide, I suppose. I've never, whatever, but I can imagine. What a weird, bizarre story.
And here's the thing. There was something that struck me in one of the comments, in part of the comments from the U.S. Attorney there for Massachusetts. He says that basically what they're accusing these three men of is trafficking Asian women. And not just in Massachusetts and the D.C. suburbs, but apparently all across the country. So when we talk about elected officials, these could be elected officials anywhere in this country.
And the brothel themselves, they were in apartments in, I guess, the Boston area.
Right.
And they would have these, really high-end apartments that would be rented. And some of these services were, $600-700, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, the Department of Justice says they interviewed 20 men, apparently, who told them that they were required to fill out a form listing their employer and a reference for the service.
Why would you possibly do that? There's a couple of different parts of the story here. Number one, there's the arrogance of these politicians and whoever else they are, but there's the arrogance that, I'll never get caught. But there's also the stupidity where it's like, okay, you want me to list my employer? Okay, here's my cell phone number. Okay, here's the references of the two or three other people that will vouch for me, I suppose. And it's just, it is a strange and bizarre story, Ken Weaver.
Yeah.
But I guess knowing how the world is and knowing how DC works, it is shocking, but honest to goodness, I don't know if it is shocking.
Well, yeah, nothing shocks me anymore.
I think you're right, Ken. And I think what is actually shocking is not the fact that there is a brothel. I think what is shocking is that there's the part about the references, the phone numbers, who is your employer, the questionnaires.
Right.
I guess they were sending, the people had websites, and so you would click onto the website, and there's things there.
Almost like you had to be in a club.
That's what it sounds like.
And
that's what it sounds like.
There's no, I'm not seeing anything that says the Department of Justice is going after the Johns in this.
Not yet. They say not yet.
Yeah, not yet. But they apparently know who these people are. And these 3 men that they have in custody now, you got to think that they're trying to strike deals.
Interesting. And I, as I said, there are people in Washington, D.C. who are incredibly nervous right now because we may not have found who was in Jeffrey Epstein's little book there.
Right.
But I think we're going to find out who's involved here. Yeah. Now, the question is, we're having some fun earlier in the 5 o'clock hour. Do you think it'll be more Republicans or Democrats? I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't care. If it's a Republican that's doing something like this, they need to be held accountable, just like Democrats, and you've got all of these other folks as well.
Well, I mean, and they're pretty broad by saying elected officials. I mean, we could be talking about school board presidents.
Yeah,
or,
we could.
City council members, that sort of thing. It's not necessarily somebody in Congress.
No, that's true.
But we don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me. People are talking about, the likes of Eric Swalwell. Because we know Eric Swalwell had that. Anyway, 7:15 on Nashville's Morning News. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. $7:15, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. So real quick, the weather cloudy today, rain possible. We had a high of 70. The temperature is now dropping 68 degrees. Rain on Friday, tomorrow, and then on Saturday, dry. Chance of rain again on Sunday. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. The Super Text line has really been triggered by the story of the brothel.
Yeah.
Now, Dan, according to 3890, you know darn right well we won't find out who is involved except the Republicans. There's that. Another one, this sounds like Matt says, this sounds like a blackmail sting to me. Yeah, that is exactly what I said. Todd says Hillary will have them all killed. Let's see here. Nick says nobody talks about Brothel Club. Well, apparently there's a lot of talk about Brothel Club. Another guy says there's a place like this in Nashville. I don't know.
There's probably a place like this everywhere.
Yeah, can we all not just be adults here and understand that, yes, these things are out there. It's wrong and it's creepy. And I can't get over the fact that I've never understood this feeling of, men just willing to pass women around like this. I mean, that, number one, is gross in and of itself. And the fact that these women clearly have been sex trafficked, that is also creepy and horrific.
That seems to be the case. Apparently, and the way the U.S. attorney put it is that is exactly what was happening. These Asian women were moved around the country to wherever the services were required.
Yep.
Or requested, I should say, not required.
Whatever. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, Ken. So this is going to be a story that is going to percolate for a long time.
It's just the beginning.
And that's what they're saying, too.
Yep.
It is just the beginning. Hey, by the way, coming up at 7:35, of course, we're doing this every day now. We have Michael Patrick Leahy coming in. And we're going to talk about this horrific story of this shooting of the 18-year-old Jillian Ludwig. And I was talking earlier in the radio broadcast in the 6 o'clock hour, how, it's horrible that this poor woman, 18 years old, just simply goes out for a walk and ends up with a bullet in her head. And the guy that is accused of pulling the trigger, not one, not two, but 3 doctors deemed her incompetent. And so that, at least to me, gives the DA, Glenn Funk, really gives him the opportunity to pass on bringing any charges against this guy. And so, as I said in my rather impassioned monologue in the 6 o'clock hour, my question is, who are these three doctors who all, they say, independently deemed this guy, I think it's Shaquille Taylor, who deemed him mentally incompetent to stand trial? And do they use the same doctors every single time with this sort of understanding that the ultimate goal is to keep these folks out of jail? I mean, that's part of what I would ask. Somebody on the Twitter machine tweeted to me, and you can find me at Dan Mandis Show. And Jody tweeted out and said, paralegal for 25 plus years. Short answer is yes. Attorneys repeatedly utilize the same doctors who agree with what the attorney wants to prove. Legal and medical theories often differ, so it is easy to find a doctor to agree with your position. So I don't know. This is something that Michael Patrick Leahy and I will be discussing. And also, MPL has Metro Councilman Jeff Eastlick joining us in the studio this morning. We're going to be talking about that relevant to the three doctors involved in this, and also the district attorney, Glenn Funk. So looking forward to that conversation coming up on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. One of the questions I have for a lot of folks, did you watch the debate last night with Vivek Ramaswamy? You had Chris Christie, you had Ron DeSantis and some other folks. You know what I'm dying to know? And Ken, I bet I bet our friend Chris Hand, I know what's happening right now.
What's that?
Chris Hand is looking at screenshots from the first debate and the third and trying to ascertain if Chris Christie is coming across the same height. Like, do you think that he took out the lifts in his shoes because he's been caught now and he's whatever?
You mean you're talking about if what's his name? Good grief! Why am I
DeSantis?
Yeah, Ron DeSantis. You said Chris Christie.
Oh, did I say Chris Christie?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, Ron DeSantis. Although somebody did say that Chris Christie was like Don Cheney in high heels. Right? Oh, no, that was Nikki Haley.
That was Dick
Don
Cheney.
Yeah, Dick Cheney in
high heels. That was Vivek Ramaswamy.
And then all I thought of was Dick Cheney in high heels. That's
somebody said
interesting visual.
I was making a joke earlier. Somebody said on the super text line that Chris Christie looks like a white Lizzo.
Yeah, white Lizzo.
So, which I okay. Well, listen, I can't argue with it.
Tough crowd.
Tough crowd this morning,
yes,
man.
It is a tough crowd.
I'm sorry, you want to hear the stuff I go through? Chris Hand says, Bootgate.
Bootgate. Yes, sir. Bootgate.
Send me a text. So I was talking earlier about how Amy and I this is the kind of hate I get. And so Amy and I was relating the story about how Amy and I are talking about whether or not we want to walk from the restaurant to this other thing that we're going to be doing on Saturday. And I said, no, I'm not going to walk. I'm not going to do any walking in Nashville. It's six blocks, and I don't want to accidentally end up with a bullet in my head like, 18-year-old Jillian Ludwig. Horrible story. And one of my hate listeners sent me an email and said, oh, please walk. Please walk. Take the chance and walk.
Goodness.
Listen, let me tell you something.
Well,
tough crowd.
Chilly.
I get that all the time.
Yeah, that's more than a tough crowd.
721 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The Super Text line is open at 615-737-9986. Got a lot more straight ahead. And we have the news coming up at 7:30.
Yeah,
Ken Weaver, what's up?
All right, we're going to have more on that big brothel bust. The man police say shot 18-year-old Belmont student Julian Ludwig makes his first court appearance on those charges. He's been before a judge before. And another Republican presidential primary in the books. Highlights from that at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much. At 7:22 on Super Talk 99.7. Friends, if you're thinking ahead for the holidays, have I got a great idea for you? Head on over to Brentwood Jewelry this Friday, because they are having a huge timepiece event. It is called Bremont and Bourbon. And if you don't know what Bremont watches are. They're among the elite in the timepiece industry. This is a big event at Brentwood Jewelry. It all begins at 1, ends at 6, 7012 Church Street East. Again, that is on Friday, tomorrow. And so find them there at in Brentwood, 7012 Church Street East. Get something amazing for the people in your life. Maybe a Brentwood watch, a Bremont watch, or earrings or necklaces, or frankly anything from Brentwood Jewelry is going to be the perfect timepiece or the perfect gift for those special people in your life who frankly deserve something special. So don't forget, this is all happening tomorrow. Head on over to Brentwood Jewelry for their huge timepiece event. Bremont and bourbon, great watches, amazing bourbon as well. Check them out on their website for more information. It is right there on the front page of BrentwoodJewelry.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies, and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Winter is on the way, and with it, possible snow, ice, and yes, power outages as well. The big question is, are you ready? Dan Mandis here for Cove Generators. Now, they are experts in keeping your power on and your family safe. Be prepared this winter with a Generac home standby generator, the best generators around to keep your heat on, even if your power does go out. Now, Cove Generators, they are your premier Generac home standby generator dealer. Call them today and be prepared for winter. At Cove Generators, all they do is generators, so they know what they're doing, and they do it at a fair price and great customer service. Now, if you've already got a generator, call my friends at Cove Generators to perform maintenance on your Generac automatic standby generator or any brand generator that you own. Find them online. It is covegenerators.com, and never lose power again. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, 931-559-3311, 931-559-3311. Terms and conditions may apply. Call for details. Again, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, covegenerators.com.
"7:30 on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Going to tell you about these changes in the weather in the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now, federal authorities say they have busted a high-end brothel network whose clients, they say, were among some of the most powerful people in the country. Federal investigators say this network of brothels for ultra-rich clients, as they put it, operated out of the Boston area and the Washington, D.C. suburbs.
They are doctors, they are lawyers, they're accountants, they're elected officials, they are executives at high-tech companies and pharmaceutical companies. They're military officers, government contractors, professors, scientists. Pick a profession, they're probably represented in this case.
Yeah, they say the brothels were promoted online with photos of scantily clad women. Officials say after their personal information was verified, clients would be offered services, some costing more than $600 per hour. Later today in Nashville, the man police say shot 18-year-old Belmont student Julian Ludwig makes his first court appearance. Shaquille Taylor allegedly admitted to firing shots at a car near an Edge Hill park. One of the bullets, police say, struck Ludwig in the head as she was simply out walking. Now she's fighting for her life. Taylor was apparently prosecuted back in May on an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon charge. However, he was released after doctors testified that he was incompetent to stand trial. Also in Nashville, 7 Metro police officers are on paid administrative assignment. This after the public release of 3 pages purported to be from the Covenant school shooters manifesto. Metro police say this is not a punishment for the officers. They say they still have full police power, but will not be part of the investigation to protect the integrity of the investigation. And the department is not releasing their identities. And another Republican presidential primary in the books, the third one, which former President Trump skipped, instead campaigning about 10 miles away. But it didn't stop the other 5 candidates from bringing him up.
Governor Ron DeSantis going after Donald Trump for not attending this or any debate.
And he said Republicans were going to get tired of winning. Well, we saw last night, I'm sick of Republicans losing.
Candidate Nikki Haley on the NBC debate.
He put us $8 trillion in debt, and our kids are never going to forgive us for that.
And Chris Christie saying former President Trump will spend the next year trying to stay out of jail, claiming he won't be able to lead the party or the country.
That is Andy Field reporting, and the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. At 7:32, John Griffith. Listen, if you are looking for a personal injury attorney, it can be stressful at an already stressful time. This is why you need to call my friends at Griffith Law. Now, you know, John was honored as the Outstanding Trial Attorney of the Year here in the state of Tennessee a few years back. And that's one of many reasons why I do endorse John Griffith. He's not afraid to go to trial if it means a better outcome for you. Griffith Law is the law firm you need to call if you need a personal injury attorney. He actually wrote a book on all of this because he really does want to help you and how to handle these types of cases. You can find that on his website. It is griffithinjurylaw.com, 615-807-7900. That book is called The 10 Worst Mistakes You Can Make with Your Tennessee Injury Case. He, again, offers it for free on his website because John Griffith and all the legal eagles at Griffith Law, they truly care about you, your family, and your case. 615-807-7900 for personal injury attorney John Griffith. That website, as always, tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out, griffithinjurylaw.com. 737, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in. Time for our daily visit with Michael Patrick Leahy from the Tennessee Star, and he's brought with him Metro Council 11th District Jeff Eastlick is also joining us in studio as well on Super Talk 99.7. I have so much stuff I want to cover with you, Michael, so let's get right to it. First of all, I posed a question earlier, and there seems to be some people that agree with me, some people disagree with me. I'm simply asking a question. We've got this Shaquille Taylor, and this dude had a long history of crimes dating back at least to 2010. We talked about it earlier. It's aggravated robbery and, jacking and all these things, carjacking and all these things. 3 doctors claim or said, it was their assertion, that he was incompetent to stand trial. Now, he had a girlfriend, so he's got a girlfriend. He apparently can carjack a truck, or at least he got picked up in a carjack truck, and he obviously had a gun. And so my question, and it is a question, which is, I want to know, what basis do they use to say that this guy is incompetent to stand trial? And is there an understanding, a wink, wink, nod, nod, where it's like these doctors and the DAs, like everybody has an understanding because everyone knows that progressive DAs don't want people to go to jail. And so some people said that attorneys and perhaps district attorneys as well have this stable of doctors, and everybody knows what the agenda is. And some people say that is exactly what's going on. Other people say no. What say you?
So, Dan, my sources tell me that when somebody is arrested and sent to Davidson County Jail, they immediately are reviewed by 3 mental health professionals. They either contract doctors or employees of the county. This apparently happened in August of 2021 when the alleged perpetrator here, Shaquille Taylor, was arrested on aggravated assault charges. That charge was brought to court earlier this year. And those 3 doctors said he's incompetent. And so they said, we can't charge him. That was what the DA said. They didn't do anything after that. They let him free on the streets. This September, he was charged with felony auto theft, and they decided to let him out on bond. You see, this is, I think, what you're getting at is the system here.
Yeah.
Run by the DA, Glenn Funk, is it designed to let criminals off? Mm-hmm. That's the question here. It seems to be that might very well be the case here.
So is there a way to find out what the basis for him being called mentally incompetent? Is there a way to do some digging?
Sure. There's a record, there's a trial record on it.
That we can find out.
We can find that out. But to me, the even more important question subsequent to that is, he was arrested on felony auto theft in September.
Yeah.
And the district attorney decided it would be a good idea to let him out on bond. See, this was a mistake by the district attorney, in my view.
Well, in my view, too. Mm-hmm. I mean, this guy, and the point of my monologue earlier was Shaquille Taylor. The point of my monologue is, it can be Shaquille Taylor. It can be, thousands of these guys, millions perhaps of these guys across the country who are deemed, mentally incompetent. What does that mean? I want to know what that means. And if we are using that as a keep them out of jail free kind of a card, and that means that Glenn Funk doesn't have to do anything, it kind of lets him off the hook, then that is a problem.
So I think it's more than that, though. I think that Glenn Funk did not properly prosecute this dangerous person.
Okay.
That's what I think it is. And, of course, now this sweet young girl.
18 years old.
18 years old.
Taking a walk.
Shot in the head.
Yeah.
Not expected to survive. The tragedy. It's just unspeakable. But to me, the problem here is the district attorney failed to aggressively prosecute a known perpetrator and a known problem.
So for you, I think we're both asking the same question, but we're looking for, sort of just what happened. So for me, I want to know, are these 3 doctors giving Funk the opportunity to say, I don't need to deal with this guy, and because he's mentally incompetent, he could just, brush it all away? And you're talking about what happened in September, and maybe one has to do with the other. Maybe when this happened in September, he looks at the history of this guy and he says, well, these 3 doctors said that he's mentally incompetent, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to let this guy, walk. And I mean,
to me, my view is it's a dereliction of duty of the district attorney.
I will say it is. But I also want to know if there is a systemic problem within Nashville. That's going to be the bigger issue because
asking the question answers it.
Yeah, I think you're right. And we'll have to see where this case goes. I really hope that here's what 2 things that I want to see happen. I want to know what the basis is for calling these people mentally incompetent. I do want to know if there is an understanding within the DA's office to say, wink, wink, nod, nod, we want to deem as many of these people as mentally incompetent, air quotes, as we can so that we don't have to prosecute and we don't have to put all these poor people behind bars.
That's an important question we'll be investigating at the Tennessee Star.
Jeff Eastlick, Metro Council 11th District, I'm really glad you're here because you have been involved in something near and dear in a hateful, infuriating kind of way. The Old Hickory homeless encampment that I have been covering, for a long time, and for many reasons. One, because I come into work at a really, really early time, and I've almost hit these, zombie-like homeless people walking on Old Hickory as I'm trying to make my way to 40. And you've been trying to shut this. You literally ran on trying to shut this thing down, and then it's seemingly the rug was kind of pulled out from under you. Let's talk about that as far as because I know there's been an update on the Old Hickory homeless encampment. So tell us what the update is.
Well, as far as there's not really an update on that encampment. It's still just as big and as bad as it was. They did clean it a while back, which part of the reason that they would shut one down would be that it was nasty. So cleaning it only extended the life of it, if you ask me. And that's kind of the way the whole prioritization works. So I wish it wouldn't have been cleaned up, although it is back nasty. So it didn't take very long to get there.
I was going to say, how long do they think it's going to stay clean
36, 48 hours.
Exactly.
But what we're also facing right now, there's a petition to close down the Hermitage Inn, which is on Lebanon Road right there at Old Hickory Boulevard. It's a motel. It's been there a really long time.
Is that it's green?
Bluish green? Right across from Thornton's,
yes.
Hooters, right in that area?
Yep.
If I may be wrong with the number, it's like 1,266 or 1,566 calls for the police in the last 5 years. That's about one a day. You add in the Thorntons and the Quick Sack, which are right there by that, and of course they're going to go back and forth and shop between those two. You're looking at 2 or 2+ calls a day on that area. Something needs to be done. I know it was a bad thing during COVID. I don't think it's gotten any better. I'm guessing once the homeless get enough money, that's where they would go and spend the night. Or I know there's drugs, there's overdoses, there's all kinds of crime that goes on in that area. I would like to see that shut down as a nuisance or cleaned up, one of the two.
7:45, going to check the roads very quickly from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you very much. Cloudy with rain today, and right now it is 68 degrees. Rain on Friday, tomorrow. Saturday dry, then a chance of rain on Sunday. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News and Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here along with Michael Patrick Leahy from the Tennessee Star and Jeff Eastlick, Metro Council 11th District. One final thought, if we could, on the old Hickory encampment. So you're talking about closing down as you said, the nuisance, the hotel right there and everything. I remember the homeless advocates, I think the mayor as well, said, well, it's a delicate situation. In 1 minute or less, what is so delicate about this? Ship their butts off someplace else where they're not negatively impacting the community.
So you hear about compassion. Where's the compassion for the business owners? Where's the compassion for the citizens? Where's the compassion for the people that live around there that have to deal with this every day, that are paying great tax dollars to try to get this cleaned up? Everybody puts the compassion toward the homeless. I feel like it needs to be spread around a little bit better. I asked to be put on the Homeless Planning Commission, and I can't really, go against what Vice Mayor Henderson said, but she put on Councilman Rutherford, Councilman Johnston, who are returning from that. And then she put Councilman Jordan Huffman. That encampment right there at Andrew Jackson is in his area. But I ran on this. I ran boldly against it. I think putting me on that commission would have given credibility to the answers that I would have brought back. With my criticism of what was going on, given the opportunity, I think I could have given the people answers they could have believed.
7 officers placed on administrative assignment as investigation into the leak of the Covenant school shooters' writings does continue. And it feels to me like there is a bit of a rebellion inside the Metro Nashville police. And I don't know, it feels a little punitive, but what say you?
I suppose you could call it pre-punitive, right? They've been put on administrative assignment.
Now, what's the difference between administrative assignment and administrative leave?
If you're on administrative leave, you do not go into work, and you may or may not have police powers. They are going into work, presumably filling out paperwork right now. But 7 of them, it does have a feeling of a rebellion and a purge. That's what it has a feeling of.
That's the word I used yesterday is a purge.
And so the question is, Stephen Crowder, when he released these 3 documents that have now been authenticated as writings of the Covenant Killer, and which are very incendiary with, shall we say, steeped in anti-white, progressive, oppressive ideology and pure hatred.
Yeah.
Pure hatred.
Anti-white, anti-Christian, goes on and on.
So the question on this is, Stephen Crowder has said that a source in Metro Nashville Police Department was the originating source of these documents. Okay. So who is that? And what does it mean when they're placing 7 police officers on, quote, administrative assignment? It means they suspect that they cannot be involved in the investigation of the leak. There's a reason why they think they are perhaps compromised or perhaps suspects in that leaking, which, by the way, let's just say this is probably a whistleblower act because, in my view, since I'm a plaintiff, attempting to secure in both state court and federal court these documents, which should be available in public interest, the Metro Nashville withholding these documents is against the law. Mm-hmm. There's a clear statute on the Tennessee Public Records Law that these documents should be released. They are obstructing justice, in my view, right, by not releasing them.
In my view, too, there's obviously an agenda going on here. I wonder if part of what's going on is they've got these 7 officers placed on administrative assignment. Do you think that what they're really trying to do is find out who the kingpin or the ringleader is? They're hoping that, you know what they do? They get as many people as they can into the net, and then they look to see who's going to, tell on the other ones.
They're trying to find out who the source 2 individual identified by Stephen Crowder as the originator of these photographic images of 3 documents, which, according to Crowder, were sent 2 days after the event from Source 2, Metro Nashville Police Department, to Source 1, who's been sitting on them, apparently, in the several months since that time, and has reached out to Crowder, and that's how they got out there. They want to find out who Source 2 is. They are obviously going to probably fire that individual, but I don't believe they'll be able to prosecute them because we have a shield law here in Tennessee.
Going to be interesting. Thank you, Michael Patrick Leahy. By the way, real quickly, talk about in 30 seconds the censorship that is going on right now with some of the various websites. You have YouTube, some of the social media websites.
Facebook, YouTube, Google, Instagram, not are censoring and are not allowing the Crowder video that went out to announce this on Monday. They are shutting it down. They're calling it a, quote, violent criminal organization. Are you kidding me?
Unbelievable. All right. Thank you, Michael Patrick Leahy, Tennessee Star, Jeff Eastlick as well. Thank you both, gents. And it is 7:52 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, when our veterans come home, they need jobs, and there's an organization out there that can help them do just that. Now, they're called the Tennessee Special Operators Transition Foundation, and they align civilian careers with those coming out of our military to find the right jobs for those training and transitioning to civilian life. Now, they've aligned over 500 of our military special operations leaders into successful careers. But they can't do it without your help. Now, here's what you can do. If you own a business looking for elite upper management, think about these veterans from the Special Operators Transition Fund. You can also donate to this amazing organization. They're a 501c3 and always need the help. And every donation, by the way, is crucial to their success and is tax deductible. You can find details at sotf.org. That's sotf.org, the Special Operations Transition Foundation. They have supported America, our veterans have, and now we need to support them. Donate today.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
7:57, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, along with Ken Weaver, Johnny B as well. Coming up in the next hour, the crucial cuts from last night's Republican primary debate. Some people say Vivek Ramaswamy came out as the big-time loser. I say that he did all right. A lot of folks are saying that Ron DeSantis was the clear winner. I've got a lot more on what happened last night straight ahead and what happened with Donald Trump. It's all straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I love the state of Tennessee. I love everything about it, and I love hunting and fishing in the state of Tennessee, and what you guys do is so great. I was born and raised here, and this song is for Tennessee and everybody in it. Well, I have roamed across the land, and I have sailed deepest sea. When I've drawn my last breath, do this one thing for me. Say, won't you take me back to Tennessee, where southern streams are flowing free. Me and mine, Lord, will always be right at home in Tennessee. Right at home in the woods of Tennessee. Right at home in Tennessee. Awesome.
Eight o'clock on the dot this Thursday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and the changes are coming we've been telling you about in the weather. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Federal authorities say they busted a high-end brothel network that operated out of the Boston area and Washington, D.C. suburbs.
This commercial sex ring was built on secrecy and exclusivity, catering to a wealthy and well-connected clientele.
Acting U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts Joshua Levy says clientele including elected officials, military officers, government contractors with security clearances. He says the brothels were promoted online with photos of scantily clad women.
These websites facilitated the movement of predominantly Asian women across the United States for sex trafficking and a commercial sex ring, exploiting them in the process.
Yeah, officials say after their personal information was verified, clients would be offered services costing more than $600 per hour. Later today in Nashville, the suspect in the Belmont area shooting Tuesday goes before a judge on aggravated assault charges. But Channel 4's Ryan Breslin says it won't be the first time Shaquille Taylor has been before a judge.
We know that Taylor has a lengthy criminal background that includes charges for vehicle theft, robbery, handgun possession, and multiple aggravated assaults. Taylor's most recent aggravated assault charge was in May of this year. The district attorney's office could not prosecute Taylor, saying the case was dismissed and Taylor was released from custody because he was found incompetent to stand trial. Even though he was deemed incompetent for mental health reasons, doctors that reviewed his case say he did not meet the standards for involuntary commitment to a mental health facility.
Police say that on Tuesday, Shaquille Taylor admitted to firing shots at a car near an Edge Hill park. One of the bullets struck 18-year-old Julian Ludwig while she was walking in that park, and now she's fighting for her life. Right now in Nashville, 7 Metro police officers on paid administrative assignment after the public release of 3 pages purported to be from the Covenant School Shooters Manifesto. Metro says this is not a punishment. The officers still have full police power, but they'll not be part of this investigation in order to protect its integrity, and they are not releasing these officers' identities. Vote 2024. Andy Field with the highlight from last night's Republican presidential primary debate.
On top of all 5 candidates criticizing former President Trump, they all appeared to agree that Mr. Trump hasn't done much to help other Republicans win.
I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers.
On that NBC debate, candidate Vivek Ramaswamy blaming Republican Chair Ronna McDaniel for many years of GOP losses, calling on her to resign.
Just about 10 miles away in Hialeah.
With your vote, we are going to win the Florida primary for a 3rd straight time.
That's the 3rd GOP presidential primary debate the former president has skipped, and RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel says he'll likely skip others.
I don't think he's going to get on the debate stage. He's made that clear. He feels, as the former president, he shouldn't have to be on the debate stage, that he's going to earn the nomination a different way.
Market Numbers Report. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Checking futures ahead of the opening bell. Dow futures up 99. S&P futures up 12. NASDAQ up 17. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. At 8:04, get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate and sell your home hassle-free. Dan Mandis here. Did you know that Mark Spain Real Estate has been helping homeowners sell their homes for nearly 30 years? That is over 44,000 satisfied clients have trusted Mark Spain Real Estate to sell their homes when starting their next phase in life. Matter of fact, Mark Spain, they sell over 39 homes per day. As the most experienced real estate team in the industry, they will sell your home stress-free with the strongest cash offer in the industry. You know, they've been helping homeowners sell their homes for nearly 30 years, and they've got over 44,000 satisfied clients. And so you need to call them at 855-299-SOLD if you need to get out of your home quickly. You can move when you want to move. 855-299-SOLD is the phone number, 855-299-SOLD. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. MarkSpain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's MarkSpain.com, and start packing.
My name is Jessica Robertson, and I was like him, addicted to more. I remember things really spiraled out of control for me and him both. And we had hit rock bottom. I couldn't even function enough to keep a job. I was so isolated. He was here 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Just 3 weeks' time, the difference that this program had made, that God had made in his life, you know, and I just remember I wanted that. I wanted that too. I was able to heal and reset. I had a great counselor, great staff members. You know, the love of God is all in this place. And that's what's helped me. And seeing people walk through those doors at first just broken, just like I was. And then a few months later, get to see that light come back on in them. You know, I know that's God working in them.
Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
807 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. It is Nashville's Morning News along with Ken Weaver, Johnny B as well. Did anybody watch the debate last night? I don't know if anybody... I'm looking on the Super Text line to see if people watched it. Because I think I put the word out there earlier in the radio broadcast. If you watched it, let me know what you think. But I don't believe a lot of people watched it. I've seen one person that says that they watched the Trump rally. I think, though, by and large, more people did watch the Trump rally than watched the debate last night. There's a lot of really good sound bites from the debate. I think Vivek Ramaswamy, I will say that Ramaswamy, if we're going to judge by sound bites, and somebody else actually said this as well, Ramaswamy did well on the sound bites. One of the questions he was asked is, what would you tell Benjamin Netanyahu?
Not in terms of what I would tell the prime minister, no. In fact, I would go one step further. The founding vision of Israel was based on the idea that they don't want to depend on anybody else's sympathy or direction in defending themselves. So what I would tell Bibi is that Israel has the right and the responsibility to defend itself. I would tell him to smoke those terrorists on his southern border, and then I'll tell him as president of the United States, I'll be smoking the terrorists on our southern border. That's his responsibility. This is our responsibility. That's how we move forward. But I want to be careful to avoid making the mistakes from the neocon establishment of the past.
Yeah, and that is when he got a swipe in against Nikki Haley, because, you know, he's talking about how all of these things, this forever wars and so forth, will add trillions of dollars to our debt, like we've done fighting wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and so forth. You know, again, these never-ending wars. But then he went after Nikki Haley.
The fact of the matter is the Republican Party is not that much better. You have the likes of Nikki Haley, who stepped down from her time at the UN. Bankrupt or in debt was her family. Then she becomes a military contractor. She joins the board of Boeing and otherwise, and is now a multimillionaire. So I think that that's wrong when Republicans do it or Democrats do it. That's the choice we face. Do you want a leader from a different generation who's going to put this country first? Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right,
in which case we've got two of them on stage tonight.
Dick Cheney in 3-inch, which, by the way, is quite the visual. Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels.
Oh, that's how that guy got shot in the rear end. He's wearing high heel.
That's right, man. He was right there. He's taller than usual. Now, you know what would have been really funny? If he actually said that against Ron DeSantis. Because of the whole lifts in his shoes thing.
Well, he kind of did. He said there's two up here.
Oh, he did, didn't he, Johnny?
Did.
You caught that.
Yes. Yeah, because they were talking over him, but he said, in fact, there's two up here.
Do you think Vivek Ramaswamy is sitting around somewhere this morning pissed off because they stepped on his line? Let's listen to it again, because that is actually a really good line.
Generation is going to put this country first. Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
All right, Mr.
In which case we've got two of them on stage tonight.
He did. He said that. Well, good catch, Johnny.
That was funny.
I was joking earlier about Chris Hand and whether or not he's comparing the height of Ron DeSantis from the first debate to the third debate. Is he shorter now because he left out the lifts? Was it a liftless Ron DeSantis?
Oh, my gosh.
I did a whole thing on Dick Cheney and how he ran Halliburton, then became vice president. Then Halliburton got a ton of contracts during the Iraq War. Cheney got millions. Eventually, PolitiFact talks about. Everybody talks about. Do I need to do that again? I don't think so. Nikki Haley, and here's what I'll say. And again, I did a deep dive on this earlier, but you know, she went from South Carolina governor. She was worth less than $100,000, I guess, when she became the South Carolina governor. Then she became U.S. ambassador to the UN. And so now people are, you know, the headline is, and this was from everywhere, basically Nikki Haley built an $8 million fortune after leaving the Trump administration. And the New York Post had a big discussion on that. And part of that, as you heard Vivek Ramaswamy say, is she ended up on the board of Boeing. She also wrote a couple of books, and she's given a whole bunch of speeches, and she is making a lot of money doing, you know, what she does, which is, frankly, being Nikki Haley. Now, here's the thing. and I said this earlier, and some of you folks disagree with me, other folks agree with me. As long as Nikki Haley didn't do anything illegal, and as long as she's not sort of on the take with Boeing, and if she ends up in a position of power, the question will be, does she end up giving Boeing, through her, ability to make these kinds of decisions and influence, will Boeing end up getting, more contracts? Maybe bid-free contracts? I don't know. But that is going to be something that people do need to watch is, are we going to end up in a situation where we have I'm putting all of this in air quotes, do we have a war hawk that is going to try to keep us in a war, perhaps in Ukraine, for example, and that way her friends at Boeing and Halliburton and all these other places, they're getting all of their money, and that means that she's going to get kickbacks in political donations, et cetera. I don't have a problem with people writing books. I don't have a problem with people giving speeches. I mean, listen, there's a story out there right now that Donald Trump has, raised his the amount of money he has by, I think it's tens of millions of dollars, as a matter of fact, since he left the White House. So I don't mind them capitalizing on their hard work and their opportunities. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as the influence isn't, used the way that, quite frankly, Joe Biden has used his influence. That's what we need to avoid. So for Vivek Ramaswamy, that was, they say, one of his shining moments. Oh, there was another shining moment where the topic of conversation came to the moderators and also TikTok and all of that. Straight ahead at 8:15. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you very much. 8:15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So guy says, so Dan didn't have any problem with Obama's wealth or Clinton's. Listen, if I'm a capitalist, is it wrong to be a capitalist these days? Is it wrong to be a free market guy? Because I don't know about you folks, but I'm in it to win it. I want to make as much money as possible. And so if Obama or Clinton, if they did it legally, and there was no influence peddling. See, that's the thing, is that you look at Joe Biden, and by the way, I have a lot of questions about the Clintons. Don't get me started. All I'm saying is that if it's done the right way and you're not selling influence and, you're not doing anything illegal or immoral, unethical, whatever, I've got no problem with Nikki Haley giving speeches or writing books. That's her right. Again, I'm a capitalist. Somebody wants to give me $200,000 to, give a 15-minute speech, sign me up. Usually people want me to shut up. Anyway, 8:16 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Kirsten Welker was one of the moderators of last night's debate, and she was also the focus of Vivek Ramaswamy. The conversation, really, they were talking about the moderators and what was going on with Donald Trump and so forth. And he very masterfully was able to turn the page, if you will. They're talking about yesterday and what happened in Virginia and Ohio and Kentucky. As I covered for you yesterday, there was a lot of train wrecks and a lot of people, including, and it's a very fair thing to say, that the big problem is with the national Republican leadership.
I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer in the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made-up disinformation? Answer the question. Go.
Mr. Ross.
Sorry. This is how we get our country back. We need accountability.
And of course, as he said, we need accountability. The moderator said, we'll be the ones to ask the questions. Okay. By the way, Ramaswamy, Kristen Welker, by the way, she was just like a deer in the headlights. I mean, awkward smile. I'd be willing to bet if somebody captured that moment where she is awkwardly smiling with these accusations being hurled at her, which are all true, by the way. I'd be willing to bet that the people that make memes would be able to make a really good meme on that. And there was more.
We need accountability because this media rigged the 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
and they're going to rig this election.
Your time is up.
Accountability.
Let me turn to
That's
Governor Christie. Why you... Audience, let's not do this. Let's not do this. Let's let the candidates speak.
Yeah, let's let the candidates speak unless they start speaking the truth about the media. Did you catch that? Yes. Anyway. I mean, he's right. And by the way, I think that's why a lot of the media are saying that Vivek Ramaswamy was terrible last night because he called them, out. He called them to the carpet.
Called him out.
Called him out, he did. Media saying that Ron DeSantis won. As a matter of fact, this is from the Daily Mail. And here's what the Daily Mail says. And I like the Daily Mail, but to me, these instant polls, I don't know how much they, how much real credibility that they hold. But they do say that DeSantis won the debate. They also say that Nikki Haley came in second, and they say that Vivek was basically fifth. And that's what they say. Now, I don't believe it because I think that Ramaswamy actually did well. I think that they're just upset, again, that they got called out. A couple of other sound bites real quick. What time is it? I think I can do this real quick. There was the discussion regarding TikTok. Now, let's go back into the Wayback Time Machine. This is Nikki Haley talking about and attacking Vivek Ramaswamy because he has no issue with TikTok. Republicans do. And he is using TikTok to his advantage. Here's what he said.
TikTok is one of the most dangerous social media apps that we could have.
Yeah, this, by the way, this is in one of the previous debates. I think it was the last debate.
And what you've got, I honestly, every time I hear you, I feel a little bit dumber for what you say. Because I can't believe that here you've got a TikTok situation. What they're doing is these 150 million people are on TikTok. That means they can get your contacts, they can get your financial information, they can get your email. They can get text messages. They can get all of these things. You're now wanting kids to go and get on the social media that's dangerous for all of us.
All right, so I want to replay that last part.
You're now wanting kids to go and get on the social media that's dangerous for all of us.
All right, so she says to Vivek Ramaswamy, you want kids on social media, and that is dangerous for all of us. She opened the door. And Ramaswamy had an answer for that in this debate. Listen.
In the last debate, she made fun of me for actually joining TikTok while her own daughter was actually using the app for a long time. So you might want to take care of your family first.
Leave my daughter out of your voice.
Your adult daughter. The next generation of Americans are using it. And that's actually the point. You have her supporters propping her up. That's fine. Here's the truth.
You're just
the easy answer is actually to say that we're just going to ban one app. We got to go further.
Yeah, listen. If you're, just a couple points very quickly, but if you're on social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, certainly TikTok, if you're on the internet, your stuff is liable to be out there. So that's number one, and that's part of what he said. But number two, she did attack him for saying the kids should be allowed on TikTok when her own daughter was on TikTok. Now, I asked the question earlier, should Nikki Haley's daughter be off limits? I think her daughter, how old is somebody, Johnny or Ken, can somebody Google how old is Nikki Haley's daughter, the one that's on TikTok?
Stand by, Brother Dan.
But I think it's fair game, because if she's going to call out Vivek Ramaswamy by saying, how dare you? You want kids to be on TikTok. How dare you? Okay, well, but your own daughter's on TikTok.
She's 25 years old.
All right.
An adult.
An adult. Need I say more? 8:23 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, I get that there's a lot of people, because, again, I did pose the question earlier. And the question that I was asked is, again, the question that I asked is the daughter, the adult daughter of Nikki Haley, should she be off limits? I mean, quite frankly, I say no, because Nikki Haley opened the door. That's what I'm saying. Ken, what's coming up in the news at 8:30?
High-end brothel bust with a client list of what authorities say are some of the most powerful people in this country. The Belmont area shooting suspect in Nashville faces aggravated assault charges, but today will not be his first before a judge. And some brand new money news. Details at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken, very much. By the way, I am getting so many super texts today. It's so buried, but somebody said Vivek Ramaswamy for Trump's press secretary. I think that would be great.
Yes, it would.
That would be very
Man, I would carry that live every day.
Whew, that would be entertaining.
8:24 Nashville's Morning News. The Kellum Stem Cell Institute. So many of us deal with sports injuries like concussions, even Lou Gehrig's disease, and autism. There is now good news, whether it is you or a loved one suffering. There is now a cutting-edge treatment available for you from the Kellum Stem Cell Institute. Now, they specialize in the harvesting of and then redeploying of your own stem cells to attack inflammation in your body to help it heal. This is your body providing your cells and your solutions. And Dr. Ethan Kellum can help you today. He's been named as an official doctor for the Tennessee Titans, and he should be your doctor as well. Now, he can help you with many things: congestive heart failure, lung issues, from asthma to arthritis. The Kellum Stem Cell Institute can help you today. And yes, they do accept care credit. KELLUM, the Kellum Stem Cell Institute.com. The phone number is 615-850-4415. Call today for your free consultation. 615-850-4415. Your body, your cells, and your solution.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I recently did a workshop talking about some of the missteps of the investing industry, some of the biggest mutual fund companies out there. You probably recognize these names: Fidelity, Vanguard, Raymond James, Edward Jones, actually using data and information from their own websites as I walk through this. Now, one of the things I was talking about is diversification and how investors could be in for a rude awakening at the amount of risk that they actually have in their portfolios, and they don't even realize it. Now, the example I like to use to help people understand why do these huge companies do this? I mean, these are big companies. And you go, well, why? Well, think about the diet industry. In the diet industry, you had things like this: fat-free this, fat-free that, fat-free that. And what happened is they did a study. They were looking at diabetes in children. And what they found was that when they went fat-free, they actually ended up with more diabetes rather than less, because what they substituted for fat was sugar. Now, what happens in the mutual fund industry, they tend to keep costs low by investing in very narrow areas of the market that are inexpensive to manage. So what happens is the investor ends up with more risk than they think that they've got. Now, why do they do that? Because you are actually attracted by low costs. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't use these big mutual fund companies. It just means that you have to be eyes wide open. As an investment firm, we help people sidestep these things because sometimes you have no choice. You have a 401k, you're dealing with these fund companies and you can't go anywhere else. So what we do is we help you go around these landmines. To set up an initial 15-minute phone call, go to our website, paulwinkler.com, or you can just scan the QR code right here. We look forward to talking with you.
Get the speed you need at a great price with Xfinity Internet. Now, you know what's going on in my house with all three of us working on our computers, doing homework or radio shows. We depend on Xfinity Internet in my house, and you can too. Now, you can get up to 5 times faster upload speeds for smoother connections on the largest gig speed network, only from my friends at Xfinity. And Xfinity's gig speed internet is available to 99% of their footprint. So, in other words, it is fast, it is reliable, and it's pretty much everywhere. You can enjoy all your favorite apps all in one place with a Flex 4K streaming box, and you can stay connected on the go with over 20 million secure Xfinity Wi-Fi hotspots nationwide. Now, those two words really do say it all. Fast and reliable. So get in touch with Xfinity and stay connected. To get started, call 1-800-XFINITY, visit Xfinity.com, or drop into an Xfinity store today for more details. Actual speeds vary and are not guaranteed based on Xfinity's fastest available download speeds. Not available in all areas. Performance may be limited by customer's device configuration.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Going to be telling you about some of these changes in the weather during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Federal authorities say they have busted what they call a high-end brothel network whose clients, they say, were among some of the most powerful people in the country. Politicians, military officers, contractors with high security clearance. No customer of the brothel was named in the federal charging documents. Officials say after their personal information was verified, clients would be offered services, some costing more than $600 per hour. Later today in Nashville, the suspect in the shooting that has left a Belmont student in critical condition faces aggravated assault charges. But today won't be the first time. The DA's office says Shaquille Taylor was prosecuted for assault with a deadly weapon in May, but was released after doctors testified he was incompetent to stand trial. Meanwhile, 18-year-old Julian Ludwig is fighting for her life after she was shot while simply out for a walk near the Belmont campus Tuesday. Police say Taylor admitted to firing shots at a car in the area, but one of the bullets hit Ludwig. Money News, Jim Ryan with some new data.
3,000 fewer unemployed Americans filed initial claims for jobless benefits last week, 217,000 applications in all. The biggest increase came in Michigan, where 2,200 people filled out their applications. That state is just coming off a work stoppage in one of its major job sectors, the auto industry.
Sorry about that, Jim. All right, Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. We are a couple of minutes into the trading day, and right now it's mixed. The Dow is off 1. The S&P up 5. NASDAQ up 21. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Big Ken at 8:33. The holidays are here, friends. And with it, guests. You need to protect and clean your carpet the best way, the Zero Res way. That means no soap, no residue, and no crunchy carpet. Just soft, fluffy carpets that do stay clean longer. Now, they don't use those harsh chemicals either, which means pure safety for your family and pets. And right now, they have a great offer for you for the month of November. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for only $119, and you get a 4th room cleaned absolutely free with a donation of canned food at the time of service. Now, it benefits the Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee because Zero Res is always looking out for you and our community. By the way, don't forget about that $50 off air duct cleaning as well from Zero Res. So call them today and take advantage of that great deal. And yes, donate a can of food and get a 4th room cleaned for free. You can find them online. It's ZeroResNashville.com.
I love the state of Tennessee. I love everything about it, and I love hunting and fishing in the state of Tennessee, and what you guys do is so great. I was born and raised here, and this song is for Tennessee and everybody in it. Well, I have roamed across the land, and I have sailed deepest sea. When I've drawn my last breath, do this one thing for me. Say, won't you take me back to Tennessee, where southern streams are flowing free. Mine, Lord, will always be right at home in Tennessee, right at home in the woods of Tennessee, right at home in Tennessee. Awesome.
8:39, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the Gang of Four Amigos. You got Chris Handis here. Good morning, Chris.
Oh, you didn't unplug my mic today. What's up? Good morning.
I didn't. We decided I wanted to actually hear you today. Johnny B's here. Morning, Johnny.
Good morning, guys.
The beard that thundered. Ken Weaver. Did you hear what Ken did earlier today?
No, what did he do?
He gave out my personal email address. Hey, Ken, if you'd like to give out my cell phone number, you can go ahead and do that, too.
Okay, Brother Dan, let me look it up.
If you missed it, we'll have it after 9 as well.
Yeah.
They may have it at noon.
There you go.
Sorry about that, Brother Dan Mandis.
Nobody, I really don't. I thought it was funny or no. Actually, what I thought was funny was Ken shame spiraling over it.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I've accidentally given out my own cell phone number on national radio before.
Wow.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't want to talk about it.
That's not good.
All right, buddy.
It may have happened when I was guest hosting for Chris Plant way back when.
It's always fun when you get because there's somebody that used to work here that didn't realize you should not give out personal numbers. Somebody that worked on the front desk.
Really?
I'm out walking. This was many years ago. I'm out walking. All of a sudden, I get this call. And it's a listener. I don't really pick up on it at first. And then they start saying, now, pass this on to Phil. Jay Leno last night was... I'm like, who is this?
Wow.
So the other day, I was tired, and I'm going to the super text line, and I read out the whole number of a texter that sent me something mean, and I look over at Mac. I said, "Did I just read that out?" He's like, nods slowly and shocked. I said, "Can you hit the dump button?" Yes, I will.
You read the whole thing.
I didn't mean to. I was just like,
he's sleepy.
I just was sleepy.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well, good news, Ken. Nobody sent me an email.
Well, good, Brother
So there's
Dan.
that as well.
I'm glad.
Well-
and I was sleepy, too.
There you go. That's the excuse.
And it was early in the show, so that's good.
Yeah.
There you go. Let's see here. There is a piece of audio that I want to... Somebody sent this to me on the super text line, and it is so far buried. Now, I don't know who this reporter is, but I don't know if you saw the story of Piers Morgan and how he got sort of slapped across the head because he's trying to say that all these folks that are out there screaming from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Not all of them are saying that. And so you can't say that all of these protesters out there, the anti-Israel protesters, want Israel to be, wiped off the face of the earth. Didn't go really well for Pierce. Listen very closely.
Difference, isn't there?
Well, there is, but I don't think that all of these protesters are pro-Hamas.
And the difference is whether or not you have a large artillery behind you.
Yeah, but you don't honestly think they're all pro-Hamas, these people.
Listen.
Well, I think that anyone who, for instance, chants things like "from the river to the sea" is in fact
yes, but they're not all doing that,
or is criminally ignorant. Oh well, they are. I mean, there's masses of videos of them marching past Westminster Abbey last week, saying exactly that.
Yeah, but they're not all doing
marching
it.
past the statue of Winston Churchill last week.
I've watched the videos, and there are lots of people chanting, and some who aren't.
Okay, well, here's a challenge. Here's a challenge, Piers. If you decided to go on some kind of march, and in week 1 you discovered that you had the BNP along your side calling, for instance, for the murder of all black people, would you not wonder whether or not you should go on week 2? And would you not drop out by about week 3? I'd have thought so. I would.
That's a good question. And yes, I would.
Difference, isn't there?
Well, there is, but
there is a big difference. There you go. And he's right. And so when you look at these, because that was one of the big questions early on, was okay. So all of these people who are out there protesting against Israel, they're not, air quoting here, pro-Hamas. Well, if that's what they're chanting, and that that's part of the deal with these protests and these anti-Israel protests, well, then why are you there? If, you don't want Israel obliterated off the face of the earth, because that's what the majority of the people there do want, right?
That's fair.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Johnny, Ken, am I right on that? Oh, by the way, 1408 says, tell Ken not to worry. No one was listening anyway. LOL. Then you gave out my personal email address. It's actually kind of sad that nobody did email me.
Oh,
because I kind of thought at some point somebody would.
Mom,
they will
email
now.
Dan.
Quick, pull up a violin for Dan.
Yeah. My mom will email you from Tulsa, Brother Dan.
My ego is so fragile. What is wrong with me?
I don't know, Brother Dan.
Man alive.
Well, lay down on the couch. We'll talk to you.
Do you know who else has a fragile ego? Ronna McDaniel.
Now, has she responded to any of the Vivek attacks from last night?
So there are reports that she was overheard in the audience trashing Vivek, said he's an a-hole, a total a-hole, and that he won't get a cent from us.
Ooh. Well, we'll show you.
Has he been getting a cent from them? I mean, I don't.
Doubtful.
Yeah, I don't think Vivek needs the money from nor I'm not sure if he even wants the money from the RNC, because he's basically, his whole deal is anti-Republican. I mean, he's pro-Donald Trump, but I mean, he's been calling out Republicans. I don't know why they would give him any money.
No.
I mean, he doesn't, I don't think he wants to be, I'm putting this sort of in the mindset of Vivek Ramaswamy. I don't believe in his mind, he doesn't want to be soiled by the Republicans' money. Yep. I think that's also part of it. Did you watch the debate last night?
I did.
All right, so give me your thoughts on it, because I've watched a lot of clips, and I watched a good part of it today, this morning, but I will admittedly say that I didn't watch all of it.
I mean, it was a pretty crap debate. It was lousy. I mean, there were some good things. Nobody was really talking over each other. I thought that was good overall. Boring, practiced answers from everybody. Lots of war talk. It seemed like 3 out of the 5 on the stage were just, whatever war you need me to go into, let's go. And it seemed like they were foaming at the mouth for it. I don't think it's going to do anything to dent Trump's massive lead.
Oh, no. That's why I struggle whether or not how much I want to cover this, because it's not going to do anything.
It feels like it's just a farce and a way for the RNC to get ad dollars from major networks. And they're already announcing their next debate. We're going to have another one. This time we'll have Megyn Kelly moderating it. But to Ramaswamy's point last night, would the Democrats hire Greg Gutfeld for a debate?
No,
that was one of the best lines ever. And when he said, you know, if we want to bring new people into our party, we should have Tucker and Elon Musk moderating the debate.
And Joe Rogan.
Could you imagine? Listen, this election is going to come down to Zoomers and Boomers, Gen Z and the older generation. Those are the 2 biggest voting blocks. Why are we not trying to appeal to the younger generation? Why?
Well, and I think that's part of the discussion regarding TikTok.
Yeah.
And with Ramaswamy, and he said, although they were yelling over him, but he was saying that he's one of the only people, I think the only people on the stage, as they always like to say, who is correctly using TikTok with their algorithms and so forth. And, you know, is that the point that he made was you have all of these other social media companies who are also taking your information and giving it to China, or using it the way that it shouldn't be, sold to these third-party corporations and so forth.
He brought up Airbnb and
yes, Airbnb.
other organizations like that. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I say Trump needs to get back on Twitter. You have to fish where the fish are. So, like, I can't fault Ramaswamy for being on TikTok, though I'm never going to join TikTok, and I wish it was banned in the United States. Fish where the fish are.
Yeah.
But
so
see, I get that.
But one thing about it, man, to the point of these younger voters, CNN's own poll shows Trump leading Biden among voters 35 and younger.
Yeah.
Keep the foot on the gas, man.
But we've seen in the last few years, if you've been coming of age into politics, and this is going to be your first election you can vote in, the media lies to you. Big Pharma lies to you. You know, all of this stuff has been exposed. So if you tell me Orange Man bad, I'm just not going to believe you anymore.
No, I mean,
I think all of that it's white noise, man. It's just like a blank TV screen.
Well, it's like we said this morning. The more they try to damage Trump, the more they lift him up.
And and he is still exposing these people. Even though he's the one they're targeting.
Exactly.
Well, I think it's all about the Trump derangement syndrome. And you know, I think it's great. And I don't really understand when people say, a lot of the folks who are anti-Trump will say, well, he's unelectable. Well, what about all of the polls? Now, one thing you could say is that if Trump is the nominee for the Republicans, well, then the other side, the Democrats, will just cheat. Well, they're going to cheat anyway, folks. I mean, that's the thing. Whether it's DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Tim Scott or whoever, they'll cheat. And it's my contention that, we need to cheat better. Is that wrong to say?
No, I think that's on point.
Is it on point? I don't know.
I think that's on point. I mean,
because I said that a while ago and people got mad at me and I didn't really understand why. I was like, listen, if they're going to do it, we need to do it. There's a certain pragmatism that in politics, all is fair. Is this what they say? All is fair in love, war, in politics. Is that what it is?
I'll roll with it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Is that what they say? I don't know. Ken just covers the news.
If they don't, they should.
Sorry, boys. I'm actually writing the news right now.
Yeah. It makes sense to me. Johnny, what did you have? This is why Johnny secretly hates me.
Well, Dan, I didn't think we were going to do this story, but I've got it.
All right.
All right.
But this is what gets me. Then this shows you how crappy our government is, especially when it comes to our money. But there's this couple. They just gotten married. They're from Michigan. He bought a diamonds and pearls scratch off the day after tying the knot. He said he bought the ticket after the wedding, gave it to his wife to scratch. They found out they had won $1 million.
Wow.
So they decided to take the winnings out as a lump sum. And what would you think they got?
They probably got, what do you think they got?
50 grand?
$279.
Much better than that, actually.
500,000.
A lot better than that, actually. They got $693,000.
I've often wondered.
But still, good Lord.
I used to give lottery tickets as little Christmas bonuses, and then I started giving cash. But I often wondered if somebody would win, if they scratched it off, they won $1 million, would they even tell me, or if they just quit and give me not give me 2 weeks notice?
You said you give out cash for Christmas bonuses?
I do this. These days I do. Not to you.
How much are we talking?
Again, those 3 words, I probably shouldn't have said that on the air, but 3 words apply to you, not to you. I give Christmas bonuses to the producers and so forth. I do. I should. Now I feel I've made it awkward.
Yeah, you did.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'll produce a shift for you. You need me tomorrow? Johnny, you want a day off?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
No, I want the show run the right way.
Oh. All right.
Well,
you know what I do? I deduct $1 for every screw up, and based on past performance, you probably.
Which is why I don't get a
Oh, come on.
I screw up a lot.
How is it I make all the segments awkward? I don't know why. Now I'm going to be kicking myself, shame spiraling all day. Why did I admit that?
I feel like that was the highlight. What do you mean?
Oh, really?
I feel like that was where we peaked.
Whenever Mandis gets awkward, it's the highlight. That's what it is.
That was the crescendo, my man.
Yes, it was. That was a good.
All right, very good. Moving right along. 8:52.
Very well.
Very.
But you know what my wife said to me? She said, I'm going to use Danisms at the holiday party if I feel like I'm trapped in an awkward conversation. I'm going to say, all right, moving on, very well, and then just walk away from the conversation.
I got very well in a meeting yesterday. I did. I got very well in a meeting. Somebody used very well on me because it was that moment where it was becoming, okay, we're done now.
Yeah.
And it got a little awkward because the 3 of us didn't really know how to move along. And so one of the other people in the meeting said, I'm going to use Dan's own words to help us out here. Very well. And that was like, I guess we're done. Very good.
Moving on. Very good. Very good.
In that moment, it was like not an hour too soon. Anyway, 8:53.
Good
moving
timing.
on. Yeah. When our veterans come home, they need jobs. And there's an organization out there that can help them do just that. Now, the organization is called the Special Operators Transition Foundation, and they align civilian careers with those coming out of our military to find the right jobs for those transitioning to civilian life. Now, they've aligned over 500 of our military's special operations leaders into successful careers, but they cannot do it without your help. Now, here's what you can do. If you own a business looking for elite upper management, think about these veterans from the Special Operators Transition Fund. You can also donate to this amazing organization as well. They're a 501c3, and they always need the help. And every donation is crucial to their success, and yes, tax deductible as well. Find them online. It's SOTF.org. That's SOTF.org. The Special Operations Transition Foundation. They supported America, so we need to support our veterans. Please give today.